him being able to line up a lead for sure.
And down in Texas, the Tennessee men's basketball team fell to Texas A&M 68-63. Zakai Ziegler and Santiago Vescovi both scored 14 points in the loss and will take on South Carolina and Knoxville on Saturday. The Vanderbilt Commodores will take on the LSU Tigers tonight in hopes of extending their winning streak to 6. You can catch the action on 93.3 Classic Hits at 5:30. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Nick Keyser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 1025 and 1063.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace.
It was pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studio, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook Sports. D-Mase, Willy D, how we doing? Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. It's sunny. It's wonderful. Willy's leaving on his PJ in a minute.
I know.
Not with his PJs on, but on his PJ.
He could wear his PJs if he wanted to.
He's on his own PJ.
The rules. Yeah.
Exactly.
PJs on a little PJ-ception happening.
I don't know how that would go over. It is a long flight. I would be comfortable. That's for sure.
Very.
It'd be nice to be comfortable on the long
Get your
flight.
cozies on.
Yeah.
Nick Keyser is here as well. How we doing, Nick?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
All right, Predators get the win last night against the Vancouver Canucks, a 5-4 win in a shootout. But we can get into that, and I want to start here because Pierre LeBrun put out in The Athletic this morning that the Predators have already started making calls about numerous players. It says David Poile is listening to numerous players on his roster to get a feel for the market. Now, that doesn't mean that these moves are going to happen. That doesn't mean that there are going to be moves down the line. I would expect there probably to be some sort of move. But all David Poile is doing at this point is doing his due diligence, and that's what you should be doing as a general manager, is getting a feel for the market. Trying to assess your roster, see what moves you could make, and see, what if there are moves to be made out there. So that's kind of what I want to do today, because yesterday, Willy and Adam Vingen were kind of going back and forth about, okay, let's actually take a look at this roster. If we want to say all we want about buying and selling, and this is who David Poile should deal, those are all fine conversations. But now it's getting to the point where we need to be realistic. It's really easy to say, we want to get rid of these contracts, we want to get rid of these guys. Really easy to say that. It's a much more different and much more difficult conversation to say, okay, who are you going to deal them to? Who's picking them up? You can't just get rid of these guys. So I want to go through the roster, go through these contracts to see who would be an attractive potential trader with the Predators. And I think the one that feels most obvious, the name that's been in trade conversations really over the past few months, and the name that Pierre LeBrun points out in The Athletic, and that's Mattias Ekholm. Because at this point, he's got a couple years left on his deal. He'll be a UFA in 26. But he's 32 years old. He's making $625 a year. I would say that's probably your most likely tradable asset because you can get potentially first-round return from Mattias Ekholm.
Yeah, well, and look, this is all stuff that, we were having this conversation yesterday, and then last night you win the game, and you had a really scary moment with Ryan Johansson.
Yeah.
And, of course, that's the news of the day, is
Definitely.
he's going to have surgery. Elliot Friedman puts that out there. It was tough because say what you will about Ryan Johansson, he has not had a great season, but he's a very important player for them. So you win the game. Your young players look really good. That's a positive. It was not a thing of beauty. They had trouble hanging on. But as we've said, these teams that are loose and scrappy, they've been winning games. Chicago beat Vegas last night. Montreal beat a team that needed to win last night, New Jersey. So upsets happen, and Nashville got the 2 points at the end of the night. They know that they've got to play better. But now they're going ahead, and, we don't know the extent of the injury. But when you have surgery, and it was pretty clear what happened. It was a really scary skate blade to the lower leg.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tendons, muscles down there. I mean, that's not good, right?
Yeah,
So
when I saw Teresa Walker report last night that he was walking off in a boot, limping, and he had crutches, I knew it was not going to be good.
So, now again, you have to assess that when you're looking at your chances going forward. And you've got a couple of more 8 of your next 9 games are on the road, and most of them are against non-playoff teams. So this is really your chance to make a run, but now you have to do it without Johansson. So you have to, again, take that into account
and
be
Forsberg
realistic.
Is a question mark.
Well, yeah, and I guess we'll probably learn more about Forsberg in the coming days. I do hear some optimism that it won't be too much longer, but, of course, with what you're dealing with, you can have a setback. We know how that can change the timetable. That's why you can't really get a definitive thing. I do think that it's a fairly good shot that Alex Carrier plays on this road trip. He skated with the team yesterday. He's a really important part of what they're doing defensively. They have not been the same team defensively anywhere close to it since he's been out. He's a huge part of that. But once again, you take all this into account. So now we get to Ekholm, right? With the 2 years left, and Elliott made this point the last time we checked in on him with that particular subject. I don't hear his name being floated out very much right now. I'm curious what that looks like in the next couple of weeks. But let's look at it from the other side. Mm-hmm. You want to contend. Matthias Ekholm is a bona fide top 4 shutdown kind of defenseman.
He's a core player on this team.
He has got the ability to come into your team and be a guy you could rely on for a deep playoff run. He's done it before. He's got tons of playoff experience. He goes up against the best players on the other team every night. And so if you're looking for a left shot D, he's got to be high on your list. But the question is, can you fit that salary into your structure, not just this year, but for 2 more years? That's really the big question. And so what are you willing to give for that? First-round pick, okay. But if you're Nashville, is he worth more than that? Like, what's the?
Absolutely, I think he's more than that.
I think that's what it comes down to: is what is the best offer? If you start getting offers for him, is there something that's good enough to make you say, "All right, we got to really consider this. We have to think about this." Because if I'm David Poyle, I'm like a guy that goes into a car dealership. I wouldn't mind buying a car. I wouldn't mind, but I also have to be willing to walk away and say, I'm willing to also keep the car that I have.
Right.
I'm not desperate. Like sometimes you go to the car lot and they know your car. You rolled your car in. It's not running. You have to get a new car, right? You're not in a very good position, right? I think you have the ability for, if you're David Poyle, to take a look, see what's out there, but also look. I can easily hang on to Matthias Ekholm. He's going to be really good for the length of that contract, and I can pick up this discussion down the road. I also have to remember that Matthias Ekholm was very loyal to the organization. Could have walked at the end of the season a couple years ago. They could have traded him.
Team-friendly deal.
Took a fairly team-friendly deal and said, without any hesitation, I want to raise my family here. Mm-hmm. I've made a lot of money. I could have gotten more on the open market, but this is where I want it to be. That's got to be factored in a little bit, I think.
You say it does, but
I know it's a business, right? Yeah, Derek that's a business.
I'm
guy.
a realist in this situation.
Yeah, I get
don't
that.
care how
I'm just
much,
throwing that out there.
No, I get it. And from the outside looking in, you would think, hey, listen, the guy took a sweetheart deal, so pay him back. Don't even think about trading him. But this is a business. Mm-hmm. You chose to take the sweetheart deal, and you chose to stay, and we thank you for it. But now we're in a situation where we got to make some moves, and you're probably, other than UC Saros, you're probably the one guy that we can get, something back for that's worth, going out there and making calls and dealing
valuable
people.
Asset.
Exactly. So you're really the only valuable asset that we have other than UC Saros. Now, obviously, yes, some of the younger guys, but you don't want to start picking off your younger guys and sending them to other teams. You know, you want to keep your core young guys because you anticipate them getting better and them being a part of your franchise, 2, 3, 4 years down the line. But a guy like Matias, 32 years old, I mean, yes, you did show some loyalty, and we want to show it back, but we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Mm-hmm. And loyalty is as far as I can throw you in sports. That's just what it is. No lie. People can scream loyalty this and loyalty that, but more than not, if I can throw you a yard, that's how far loyalty is in this game. So, they just got to figure out now, I think, because you have Philip Forsberg down, because now you have Johansson possibly gone for the season, where's this team going? We can hold on and hope that the younger guys pick up the slack, but we're 50-some games in, and this team is who they are. And now they lose another guy that they depend on regardless of how he was playing, they depended on him. And now he's gone.
Still a top 6 forward.
Exactly. Now he's gone. So where do you go as a team now? What do you do as a GM now that another one of your core guys goes down? You're closer and closer to the the trade deadline. Something else can potentially happen. Hopefully, God forbid it doesn't. But you don't want to put yourself so close to that trade deadline where you can't do anything. You get to the day and people are looking at you like, nah, the other day we thought about trading and we wanted to, but nah, today I think we're going to pass and just move on.
The picture changes every day.
Exactly.
Like we saw, an injury like that, that happens to Nashville, other teams could have similar things happen in the coming days.
You're stuck with Johansson for his whole contract now.
Yeah, and I think that was the case before the injury. He's got 2 years left. I don't think he had any trade value, really.
But
because he wasn't having a great season.
Even if you wanted to get rid of him, you're stuck now. You got to deal with it.
Well, remember, they exposed him to the expansion draft, so that told you everything you needed to know a couple years ago.
Seattle didn't even take him for free.
Right, and so he did, to his credit, bounce back, have a very good season last year, but still not the type of thing that if you wanted to trade him, you were going to get anything back, or maybe even not even find a taker. But now, so I think that status is almost status quo. But getting to your point on Ekholm, the other things that I'm looking at on the horizon, this team has some pretty good prospects at forward coming through the system. I don't know that very many of them are ready to come in right now and play. Next year, I think it's probably the same. I think a lot of their best prospects are still another year or so away from making an impact. Tomasino is the guy that I think now is really going to have a chance to take the next step. He had a nice game last night. He had his best game that he's had since he's been called up. He's going to be right in there now because without Johansson, Juuso Parssinen will move back to center where he's another guy I'm excited about the opportunity he's going to have. He's going to get to play now, and he's been playing already, but he had to slide over the wing. Now his role is going to go up. Tommy Novak's going to get a great chance. Cody Glass. Those are all guys that had really solid contributions last night, and now there's nothing to stop them. But on D, there's not a couple guys in Milwaukee that are ready to slide up there and come in and play. So they're kind of low on prospects on defense. So you have to factor that in if you're going to shop around Ekholm because – I can look forward the next couple years, and I can say, well, I'm going to have my top four. It's a pretty good top four. Yossi, McDonough, Carrier, and Ekholm for the next couple years. That's a pretty solid foundation. So, once again, I'll put it like the car dealership. If I'm going in, I need to get a great deal out of that. Otherwise, I'm fine staying with Ekholm. That's just how I see it. I don't think it can be we just need to clear the contract. I think he's got enough value. Look, you got to show me that you're making me better in the short term and the long term with a deal like that because he's that valuable to the team.
And that's the difficult balance whenever you're looking to a trade deadline like this is it's tough to cut ties with players that are good and players that you love.
Yeah.
Because they contribute for your team, and that's what Ekholm has done. He has been a core part of this team. But you're not going to get a return for guys that you want to get rid of. If you want to get rid of them, chances are nobody else wants them and is willing to give up anything for them. And that's the tough part of cutting ties with the guys that you like and that produce for you, is that you're losing that value, but you're also gaining capital to build for the future. Like, I think you could get 2 firsts for Ekholm. Maybe there's not a trade partner out there, but I think that's probably what the Predators would want in return for a player like that. And that sets you up for the future. So that's the difficult balance that you have to play, is cutting ties with good players is tough, but you get good stuff in return for good players. It's easy to say that you want to cut ties with Fabro, but what are you getting in return for Fabro? Who is going to want to pick up that contract
Right,
for Fabro?
it's a different category.
If you don't want him, chances are somebody else doesn't either. But let's continue to get into this conversation of what the Predators could do at the trade deadline. What would be a realistic return for some of the Predators' assets? We'll continue to get into that coming up next. And your phones as well. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
They can be a fully formed model of what they're going to be offensively moving forward.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
You don't know what's going to happen with the roster or the team.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
This is a good lesson about sports and what we think and what actually happens.
Chad Withrow on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's the final countdown on the Electronic Express President's Day sale. That means huge savings in every department at any of our convenient locations, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, speakers, headphones, and more. Don't forget, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, get up to 5 years interest-free financing on furniture and mattress purchases. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com. Sale ends Saturday. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Jewelry business, it's in my blood. I've been doing it all my life, and it's my passion.
Meet Daniel Sabalas, a third-generation jeweler at Genesis Diamonds.
This line of work, it's all about honesty and trust. It's about building relationships.
And that's what drew Daniel to Genesis, where it's all about education, transparency, and respect for each customer.
It's based on a family business mentality, and that's how we are. We're here to educate, to guide you, and we make it very easy. So we really go out of our way to educate customers in the right way. There's no stress level, there's no tension. The customer can feel that.
All this while providing the guaranteed best value price.
I've never seen a company that has the best price like this that I've seen anywhere. We are a powerhouse of diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds. No commission salespeople, no pricing games, no risk, no pressure, no cutting corners.
Genesis Diamonds is going to give you the best price, best quality, guaranteed, no matter what.
Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willy Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project, or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Will they find a home? Sponsored by Geico. Sarah wants a yard. My own little paradise. Brad, however, hates yard work.
The only thing I hate more than cutting the grass is paying someone to cut the grass.
Compromise is tough, but these two won't have to compromise when they bundle home and car insurance with Geico. It's easy, and they could save even more. In the end, Sarah and Brad found a great home with a yard. A very, very small yard.
Time to get it done. And I'm done.
Bundling without compromise at geico.com.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah. And like us on Facebook, too. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 1025 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Well, David, to that point, just have you, as a staff, as a front office, have you reached a decision on?
We're day to day. We talk, every day about different situations, and I certainly could be influenced by, somebody, having a desire to make a trade, whether we're talking about two different things, whether we're trading away a player or maybe we're acquiring a player. I think this is a great time of year in terms of, the dialogue between managers, because you find out a lot more about everybody's team. You find out a lot more about their individual players, who they really like, who they would trade. So again, it's, when it happens in terms of what we decide to do, it'll be probably pretty, I don't want to say pretty obvious, but, right now it's still up in the air. It's still a gray area. I'm repeating again that I'm talking to lots of teams, and you never know what's going to happen. All I know is that we've got to win a game tonight, and we've got a couple more games, in my opinion, that can get us back into this race. So, for example, Calgary is a team that's ahead of us that we have to catch. They played Philadelphia, a non-playoff team, last night, and they lost at home. So, just looking at a lot of different things right now.
There you go. That was General Manager David Poile on Robbie and Rex Road yesterday morning. So, any of that when he references yesterday, that was all on Monday. And, of course, he mentions Ryan Johansson. This was yesterday morning before Ryan Johansson's injury. Again, the news of the day that Ryan Johansson will need surgery, and he will undergo surgery today. So probably, fair to say he's out for the season.
Yeah, I think sometimes
but
you when you have the surgery, you're not sure when you start the surgery exactly what you're going to see. It's not good, but
right.
You may not put a timetable on until you finish. Just see how extensive it is when you get in there. So, but still, I think it's safe to say it's going to be a while, and it's going to affect what they're going to do. And you heard David Poile saying yesterday, if you were asking him the same question today, he would have to factor in what happened with Johansson, the fact that they won last night, but Minnesota also won. So the picture changes a little bit each day, and that's why I think you take as long as you can, and you don't know what's going to happen around the league in terms of, are there going to be some other injuries that have teams thinking one way today, but then they wake up tomorrow after two guys get hurt or something happens, a goalie goes down, you see an opportunity, and now you went from being we might buy to, man, we really are all in. We're going all in on this. We're going for it. That could change. Take the greatest trade in Predators history probably, which was Martin Erat for Philip Forsberg, basically. That was a last-minute thing that, kind of went around, and then it was the day of the deadline that they offered Philip Forsberg, that the Predators asked for Philip Forsberg, and the Capitals at the time were like, you know what, we're going for it. We want Martin Erat. We want one more veteran. We're going to go for it. Yeah, we'll give you Forsberg. And that was a big mistake by them, obviously, and it was a great trade for the Predators. So I'm just saying that sometimes when you're patient, you slow play it, you wait it out. That's maybe sometimes when the best offers can happen. So I don't think you hurry. But I think you just take it every day and say, how does the picture look? What are the offers I'm getting for certain players? And then you go from there.
And that's exactly what David Poile needs to be doing right now is, hey, I'll pick up the phone about anybody. That doesn't mean that I'm going to make that trade. That doesn't mean that that's a move that's going to happen. But it's, hey, what is the temperature like across the league? What is the potential return here? And I go back to, because I know a lot of Predators fans saying, sell, get rid of it, get rid of the contracts. I hear you. I understand the frustration. But let's be realistic, because this is not just a business for the Predators. This is a business for every single team in the league. No team is going to want to pick up either contract or years on a player that's not delivering. So you say you want to get rid of Johansson, and of course, the injury plays a factor into that. You say you want to get rid of Duchesne, find me a team in the league that's going to be willing to pick up those contracts. That's kind of the delicate balance that you're looking at now.
I think the chances are zero on either one of those guys.
I probably agree.
Yeah. I think you'd be wasting your time if you spent time, wondering, is that going to happen? I'm pretty certain that will not happen.
And that's
not at the trade deadline right now. I mean, it just won't. Definitely with Johansson's situation, but I even think with Duchesne, there's zero chance that they could move him at the deadline. I don't think.
I would agree. And that's the unfortunate reality of it.
So it's really.
So what are we talking about?
Well, okay, so that's the question, right? So we mentioned Ekholm and the situation he's in. You've got a backup goaltender in Kevin Lankinen that has had a really good year, that was a starter, that would like to be a starter again. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. I do think he would be a valuable pickup for somebody. Now, I wouldn't.
But why would somebody trade for him if he's going to be a free agent?
Because you're trying to make a playoff run, and he could help you. He could upgrade, and even if he weren't your starter this year, if he would be a much better backup than what you have, which I think is safe to say. I think he's one of the better backups in the league right now. To me, that's because some of the other guys that they're talking about, for example, I was listening to Elliott's podcast today, Jonas Korpisalo of Columbus. Columbus takes a lot of heat. They give up a lot of goals, right? The goalie numbers are not pretty, but Korpisalo is a pretty good goalie that when they were good, he was good. He's played playoff games, and people are talking about him as a trade piece. So if you're talking about him as a trade piece, I would absolutely put Lankinen in the same category that he's been in. Now, Lankinen hasn't played in the playoffs before, but I just think if you look at his numbers, he would be an upgrade over a ton of teams' backups and a good insurance policy if something happened to your goalie. I think he would have some value. Now, what do you consider, like if you're, is it a second or a third round pick, a conditional pick, depending on how much he plays? I mean, that's the kind of thing we're talking about here. If you come to the point at the deadline where you feel like you're a seller, to me, he would be on a list. The interesting ones to me.
Really quickly, Willie, I don't mean to interrupt you. This is breaking news that just came out on Bussin' with the Boys. This is a tweet from Ben Arthur that the Titans have released Taylor Lewan.
Well, I think he knew that was coming, right? So
I think we all kind of knew that was coming, but it is now official that the Titans have released Taylor Lewan.
All right, so Taylor Lewan, he's available, a backup goalie.
He's big enough.
That is true.
Just put him in the goal.
I don't know.
He likes hockey.
I don't know if he's athletic enough. I
don't know how he skates.
On skates,
he grew up in Michigan, right? He probably knows how to skate somewhere in there.
Yeah, he looks like he has the figure to skate, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess. Put him in the net and see what happens.
A big old 300-pound lineman on skates.
I think that will be what we hear now, because remember the last time that he did the interview where he was basically saying, I'm weighing whether I want to play. I think he foresaw that this was coming. Yeah. This is not a surprise. The question is now, does he want to play? And if he does, is he interested in returning to the Titans at a lower pay scale? Does he want to test the market? Does he want to be a starter? Is it starter or retire? Or does he willing to be a backup? It sounded to me like he really wasn't interested in that the last time we heard him speak publicly on it, but we'll see.
And that's kind of the temperature that I've had on Taylor Lewan is he wants to be here. He wants to play for the Titans. His family is here. So to me, it kind of seemed like Titans or bust. But of course, that can change. His mindset can change. Now that it's actually real, now that it's happened, he might think, you know what, I got a couple years left in me. I'm willing to take a very team-friendly deal just to be on a team and to continue to play and finish out my career. But to the Titans' point about, do you want to bring him back on a very low deal, very team-friendly deal? I understand that thought process, but also, let's say he gets hurt again, which is a likely scenario, unfortunately.
It's the biggest question mark he's got, right?
Exactly, and that's exactly why the Titans couldn't commit to that much money. But if he gets hurt again, well, then that's still, whether you're paying him $2 million or $20 million, you're still not getting any production out of your left tackle.
I think I think the Titans are done with it. They're moving on. One, because since he signed that contract, he's been injured more times than not. And listen, it's not his fault. I mean, he's just got injured. His play declined. I don't think they're bringing him back, not even for $2 million, because you're right. Even at $2 million, I don't care, a million. If you're not available, that's $1 million we are on the hook for a guy that can't play. And it's going to be hard for him to latch on to another team because he's coming off of an injury. So his days, unless he waits it out, late July, August, guys start going down, teams make cuts and all this other stuff. He can be a guy that you can bring in and sort of be your backup at your left tackle or your right tackle position. But unfortunately, I think his days here with the Titans are done. and just maybe just his days playing in the NFL because of his injuries are done. And you hate to see that, for a guy to end his career potentially injured.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the worst ways you can kind of go out of a professional league, whether it be hockey, basketball, baseball, whatever. You go out injured, and then nobody wants to sign you. So hopefully, if he does want to play, he can play somewhere, but he has to be healthy first.
And that's kind of why I think that there might be a little bit of the fuel left in the fire of leaving on not on your own accord, of being injured, then you get released. Sometimes I feel like if you've been playing this sport for as long as Taylor Lewan has been playing this sport, sometimes I feel like you might say, okay, I still have something left to prove. Like, I want to walk out and I want to step away when I say I'm stepping away and I'm walking away. But also, again, I think that's kind of the understanding that we've all had is Taylor Lewan wants to be here, and there's just not a place for him anymore.
Well, he's going to be here, but not on the team.
Yeah, not in pads.
I think that is the sad reality. We talked about it in the first segment, right?
Exactly.
Just the brutal business part of it, right? And down the road, as an ambassador, as a guy that represents Nashville in a lot of ways, represents the Titans. When his playing career's over, I think he would be awesome in that role. But as a player right now, that's what you have to decide: is he healthy enough? And if so, what's the role? What's the contract? And that's all business.
That is all business. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. The breaking news, Taylor Lewan has been released by the Titans, which I think is fairly unsurprising news. But also, Ryan Johansson will undergo surgery today. What does that mean for the Predators? What they do at the trade deadline, a potential playoff push. We'll get into all of that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Want a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Preds game?
Yes!
Tune in to Robbie and Rexroad every weekday Preds game day at 8:45 for Preds Pick to Click. Guess a goal scorer and win.
I'll take Roman Yost.
Matt Duchesne.
Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today.
Preds Pick to Click.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Time to tell you about Loan Pronto. And if you've been worried that the mortgage rates are still too high for you to do much, well, think again. Right now, Loan Pronto wants you to know that the rates have gone down to a 5-month low. They've got APRs right now in the 4s that they're doing with a lot of their clients. So call now and take advantage of this rate drop. Get those credit card numbers down by saving money on a monthly basis. If you get your mortgage rate down into the 4s and it's been in the 6s or the 7s, that means every month you're going to be taking money and putting it in your pocket and addressing your financial needs, just to have a little more spending money. But look, if you got those credit card bills, if you got those car loan payments, you can address those things and be in a much better financial position. Look, you owe it to yourself. Call Loan Pronto now and explore, see if they can help you, because they have a great process. You can have this done in about 14 days. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
You can trek through the savannas of Africa. Wait on the magic moment on the Great Plains of North America. Or find the thrills of Patagonia. You can book your dream hunt at the SEI Convention, coming to Nashville for the very first time. Come find your adventure February 22nd through February 25th. It's the ultimate sportsman's market, a place for every hunter. And this year, it's happening Music City style, with sold-out performances by Big and Rich and Leonard Skinner. But you can still find your outdoor adventure and rock out with the frontman with Gretchen Wilson. It's a celebration of the outdoor lifestyle, February 22nd through February 25th. Come find your adventure. Just log on to safariclub.org. One more time, that's safariclub.org. This convention will sell out, so reserve your spot today. Come find your adventure.
Losing your hair? It's Chase McCabe. No matter your age, gender, or type of hair loss, it's never a good feeling when you see too much hair in your brush or you begin to notice bald spots. For 45 years, Hair Club has helped more than 500,000 members get hair they love. If you're affected by hair loss and not sure what to do, let Hair Club help customize a solution for you. For a limited time, get 10% off when you book a free consultation today and get started at hairclub.com/chase. That's hairclub.com/chase.
Hi, I'm Steve Lehman. Belmont Basketball is the best sports entertainment value in Nashville. Join us. Get your tickets at BelmontBruins.com. Belmont Basketball. It's Bruin time.
Hey, it's Jared with my friends at Hiller. Kick off the new year with new upgrades for your home. This month, when you buy something you need for your home, Hiller will give you something you want. Pick your prize. Get a free 55-inch TV, Apple iPad, Solo Stove, or Nintendo Switch when you purchase new whole home generators or select new HVAC systems. Or a free 55-inch TV, Nintendo Switch, or Solo Stove when you upgrade to a new tankless water heater. There's no better time to take care of necessary home replacements, so call Hiller. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the Game at 615-737-1025.
For the love of Tennessee at dawn. For the love of the fight. For the love of having nowhere else you'd rather be. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Road 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app. So we got two pieces of news today. One, Taylor Lewan has been released by the Titans. I don't think that's really a surprise to anybody, and if it is, then it shouldn't be. But that is going to open up another area of need for the Titans. I think we all already understood that the offensive line was going to be a very, very high priority for the Titans. So we can kind of, put that to the side. But again, Taylor Lewan released by the Titans. Breaking news as of a few minutes ago. But the other piece of news is that Ryan Johansson will undergo surgery today. It was it was a slash on his calf.
Well, it's hard to tell exactly where it got him. He Quinn Hughes sort of lost his balance, wasn't even facing Johansson, but so it looked like sort of a harmless play.
Yeah.
And I mean those skate blades are so sharp, they're like razors. Like I'm actually thankful that it doesn't happen more.
Yeah, knock
because and the equipment has gotten such that you have better protection than you used to from things like that, but there's still just certain areas where you can't have hard protective padding. You got to be able to move your joints. So it was on the lower leg. It's hard to tell exactly whether it was right on the ankle or near the Achilles, anything like that. So I don't want to speculate on exactly where it got him, but you could just see it happened just in a split second. And Ryan knew it right away.
Yeah.
And he bolted over to the bench. He threw his gloves off, threw his stick, and you knew something was not right. Initially, during the broadcast, we were hoping it was just the blade of his skate got loose or something. He just needed an equipment thing, but that was not the case. And you couldn't possibly see it in real time. It happened so quick. And so, then the more you look, then the next thing you know, they were sort of helping him down the tunnel, and then you knew something was not right whatsoever.
And then coming out from Teresa Walker last night that he was on crutches, he was in a boot, he wasn't putting weight on that right foot, so you knew from there it wasn't going to be good. But of course, the news coming out today that he will undergo surgery. So in terms of, I really don't know how much this changes things in terms of the trade deadline. Maybe losing Ryan Johansson doesn't make you feel as optimistic as making a potential push for the playoffs. But other than that, I don't think that Ryan Johansson really had much trade value, if any trade value at all. So add on top of this injury, just kind of it adds insult to injury, but it doesn't really make Ryan Johansson, a shiny toy that's attractive to all of the NHL to all of a sudden, a completely valueless asset. To me, it's kind of, didn't have much value to begin with, and now it's just
you have
the
no
same
value.
thing. You have no value at all.
Well,
right.
He wasn't going to get traded. I think where it affects your outlook. David Poyle was saying yesterday, look, I want to see what happens. We've got some games here on the schedule. We did the math yesterday, and now we'll take away one game, which was last night, which was a win. The next 11 games, I think 9 of them are against non-playoff teams. So it's really your chance to get in there. Now, the flip side of that is down the stretch, the schedule does get tougher. You're playing much more of the playoff caliber teams, and you got to ask yourself, what does your team look like? And so now you have to do that equation without Johansson. If you win the next 4 games, you're likely to make a little bit of jump in the standings. But the big question is, with Johansson out of the mix, what are the chances that my team can go? Now you have 27 games left. So they win last night. To get to 95 or 97 points, your record has to be 16-8-3 or 17-7-3. That's really the question. And now with Johansson, your chances probably go down some. Not that he was carrying the team or anything. One of the biggest reasons they're in this hole is guys like Johansson and Duchesne, who really didn't make any impact on the game last night at all until the shootout goal.
Right.
And then you still don't have Forsberg. You're not quite sure when you're going to get him. The top players have to be pulling their weight. Mm-hmm. But without them, you don't have replacements. It's who you're bringing up from Milwaukee, right? So it's pretty simple, right? Your percentage chances of having that kind of 27-game stretch is probably not great. It's possible. Things happen, right?
Anything is possible.
Thing happens out of nowhere. Things happen that are unexpected. But you got to assess the realistic probability of that.
Yeah, possible, not probable.
Realistically, this team is worse off now, today, knowing what we know today with Ryan Johansson, Philip Forsberg. We don't know when he's coming back. This team is worse off now than they were before the game yesterday. And if you're still waiting to make a decision on, okay, if we win this game, if we go this, if we do that, man, again, I don't envy David Poyle, don't whatsoever, but
you have to just accept where you're at.
No, life is telling you.
Yeah.
Life is telling you, do what you feel you need to do with the team right now, because it seemed like it's only going to get worse. Now, guys that were not counted on, they're going to be counted on now. And it's not like this thing is going to turn around anytime soon. So, to me, if you can sell it off, sell it off. This team is not, and I hate to say it, unless there's some dramatical change, this team ain't making the playoffs. They're not. And I know it's hard to hear. I know they don't want to hear it over at Bridgestone, but the likelihood of this team, because there are so many other variables that have to happen, it's not just you winning. You got to worry about everybody else losing. And if I don't have my own, if I've always said, let's stress about the things you have control over. Everything else you don't have control over, don't stress about it, because you can't do anything about it anyway. Worry about the things that you can worry about, Nashville. And that's your team. You can't worry about what Minnesota's doing. Can't worry about what Calgary's doing. Because what if they keep on winning? And you keep on winning. You're still behind them, no matter what. So if you're trying to set this team up for the future, do it. I don't know if you can, but do whatever you need to do so this team can be in a position to win in the future. Because today, they're not. And I hate to say it, and there are a lot of other people that are thinking it, and they are saying it. But whatever you can do to make this team better moving forward, like next year and the year after that, then do it. Because this team is not equipped, even if they make the playoffs. Then what?
Well, that's always the then what. There are some great stories of teams, and the Predators were one of them, that had a great run just barely getting into the playoffs. It happens more in hockey than any other sport. So I do think making the playoffs is significant. But I think the better question is the first one you answer is what are my chances of making the playoffs, and what are the options of making my team better with smart choices, taking teams that are going for it, that are willing to trade good assets and assets that can help your team. I think that's what you have to assess, at least before the trade deadline. And then there's the whole assessment of what happens after the season, depending on – because there's still a lot of games left, 27 games. A lot of different things can happen. You could find out that, for example, Juuso Parssinen, who's now going to be one of the top centers going forward, he's going to have a tremendous opportunity. You might see where he goes. And by the end of the year, like, wow, look at what we have here. You know, these are the kind of things that you evaluate with, especially with some of the younger players whose roles now are going to go up with Johansson unavailable.
I'm like, start playing the young players. Start
I
playing your future. Start playing your future now. And if they get on a heater and win, then great.
Exactly.
If they don't, then at least you know what you have.
They have experience.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, we've seen it just in Tomasino's short period of being up in Nashville. You know, first game, he okay, he was fine. And then last night, had a much better game. So that's what I want to see. I want to see the young guys. And it's difficult to accept where you are, especially, Willie, to your point, when there are, 27 games left in the season. It's hard to assess where you are and say, you know what? I don't think that we're in a spot right now to make the push that we initially wanted to or expected to at the beginning of the season. It's hard to do that. But if you don't come to terms with those kinds of things, you may end up hurting the team. But let's continue to get back into this. Coming up next, 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Plus, breaking news from the Titans. This is from Jordan Schultz, an NFL insider for The Score. The Titans have released Robert Woods. Another pretty unsurprising move from the Titans there. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
That fits the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
To all my men listeners out there, the sun is shining. So what you need to do? And then what I need to tell you about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge, along with his wife Daphne and that experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD services have already help many men of Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee, that includes me, with improving their immune systems, energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. They are there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. Who doesn't want that? So there's no better time now to achieve a healthy lifestyle. Men, what are you waiting for? Give Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment. Here's the number, 615-486-3458. 615-486-3458 or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments so the first payment is not until summer of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
Buying or selling a house doesn't have to be overwhelming. Wouldn't it be nice if you had one or two people there to help you with everything? That's exactly what the team at Regal Realty Group will do for you. Writing up the contract, scheduling the inspection and appraisal, meeting deadlines, making sure all paperwork is correct with the state, basically making sure that you are protected throughout the real estate process. Regal Realty Group will do it all for you, including their in-house title company, Monarch Title. It's contract to close convenience. Give them a call at 866-OUTKICK and let them get to work for you.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Nice run. It's great being back out on the mountain. You sort of disappeared for a while. Everything okay? Between you and me, It was lower testosterone. Lower T? Yeah. The doc told me once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to stay in shape. That's why I started taking Nugenix Total T. It's made a huge difference. Oh, I've seen that on TV. Is it for real? For sure. It's the #1 doctor-recommended testosterone booster. It boosts free and total testosterone levels to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. My wife, my boss, my kids, everyone has noticed a change in me. Do they still give out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves? Yes. Just send them a text.
Guys, text HATCH to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone brand at GNC and Walmart. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back in shape fast, absolutely free. Text HATCH to 321-321. That's HATCH to 321-321.
He's got big takes.
It's not that freaking hard. Hand the ball to Henry.
Small takes.
You have to defend your decision.
But all takes.
They win, they lose. Just invested a lot into this game. I thought it was the worst press conference.
He is Jared Stillman.
I guess I'm just not a very good coach, Jared.
Weekdays from 2 to 6, Stillman and Company. Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Jonathan Hutton of Outkick 360 will join us in 10 minutes. Robert Woods and Taylor Lewan both cut from the Tennessee Titans. I think that's pretty unsurprising news, and I think that there are a lot more cuts to come down. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bud Dupree get cut, if not in the next few minutes, because the Robert Woods and Taylor Lewan cuts happen very, very close to one another. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bud Dupree get on the chopping block very soon. We'll get into that with Jonathan Hutton in 10 minutes. Willy will head out early today. He is headed on the road. He's going to the West Coast, headed with the Predators. So I wanted to get this in and get Willy's thoughts on this before he has to head out. And that's on the Alabama basketball situation. So I know that probably very few people in the city of Nashville care about Alabama basketball. But with this situation, I mean, this is a story that I think supersedes sports even. So we know the story of an Alabama basketball player who he was on trial for murder, basically, for shooting and killing a young woman in Tuscaloosa. My understanding of the story is it was a former Alabama basketball player, Darius Miles, who was really, not a huge player, more so a role player in Alabama's basketball team, who was arrested for shooting and killing a woman on the Tuscaloosa Strip. And they were on trial yesterday, and it came out that Brandon Miller, who is probably a consensus first overall pick in the NBA draft this year, far and beyond Alabama's best player. It came out yesterday that Brandon Miller provided the gun that Darius Miles used to shoot and kill this young woman. Now, that's shocking news in and of itself. And beyond that was Nate Oates' comments and the fact that he admitted to knowing what happened with Brandon Miller and his involvement in the situation. And this was Nate Oates yesterday in a post-game press conference when asked about Brandon Miller and when asked about his if he had any knowledge of Brandon Miller's involvement. This was Nate Oates.
There is a situation. Just how comfortable were you with his proximity to that, and also if there's any NBA scouts who might be inquiring, what would you say to them about that?
Yeah, I mean, we've known the situation since we've been fully cooperating with law enforcement the entire time. I mean, the whole situation's sad. I mean, you just think of it, team closed practice with prayer for the situation today. Again, knowing that we had this trial today, I mean, you think of Jamia and her family and Kane, really think about her son Kane that was left behind. So it's sad. We knew about that. I mean, can't control everything anybody does outside of practice. Nobody knew that was going to happen. College kids are out. Brandon hasn't been in any type of trouble, nor has he in any type of trouble in this case, like in the wrong spot at the wrong time. So we'll address it when I'm sure NBA scouts will ask, they do their homework. But yeah, I think the article that it came out, it also stated Brandon's been interviewed he's, they're comfortable with everything that happened there.
I'm sorry, wrong place at the wrong time when there is evidence that he was asked to bring a gun and he brought it and provided a murder weapon. Wrong place, wrong time. College kids do stupid things. I'm sorry, I did plenty of dumb things in college. I was never an accomplice in a murder.
But even that, he brought up draft and NBA. Like, what does that have to do with this young lady getting her life taken for whatever reason?
Yeah,
that's what it should have been about.
And
Don't
the
bring in
question
draft
brought
or
up.
anything.
The question was asked about the NBA scouts.
He
And
should have
so-
been like, I'm not answering that question.
And I agree. That
Right.
I think he should not have taken that. I think he should have kept. He should have thought a lot more about what he was going to say about that. And as I look, he since then has backed up. He has apologized and said, "Look, I screwed up. I should not have
As
said
he
some of the
should
things.
have.
Yeah, that was not good." I'm also not any kind of a legal expert on what the situation is with Brandon. Brandon Miller, of course, is from Nashville, right? This is a guy that's got a bright future. So I don't know the legal issues, but he has not been charged with anything. And they have had people from the law enforcement there that have been asked about his involvement, and they said, we have nothing to charge him with, which is surprising to me. Just from sitting here, Mr. Lehman, no idea. Not Steve
Right.
Lehman, but Mr. Lehman, I don't know anything about legal. But when I heard the news, I was like, oh, man, this may not be good for Brandon Miller. But I also wonder, too, you got the number one team in the country, and so how is this looming over the locker room, right? So to this point, they've continued to play great basketball as a team, even though this was a guy that played games for them. Miles, he was on the team to start the year. He's played games, and he's in this, and they've still, on the court been a really good team. But now, as this ratchets up, how does it affect their play?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, you hate to hear something like this happen.
It's awful.
And your heart goes out to the young lady's family because again, it was a senseless,
She's a young kid,
a senseless murder for what I don't know. But here's the deal: you had one guy, for whatever reason, I just can't wrap my head around that. But kids, it's just a different world now. You have one kid that asks another kid via text for a gun. First problem here is, why are you asking them for a gun? Okay? Second problem is, why do you have a gun on campus? Or even in your apartment? Why do you have a gun? Third problem is, if I'm Brandon Miller, I see my future right in front of me. Dude, what are you talking about? No. And you should second think what you're asking me to do. No. I'm not doing that. I'm not bringing you a gun for any situation. Those are the problems that I have. The first problem is you took a young lady's life, and then you're asking, but before that, you're asking another teammate for his gun, and then that teammate, for whatever reason, gives you the gun. Okay, why do you have the gun at 17, 18 years old? Why in the hell do you feel you need to have a gun? You are at a university. I understand things happen at a university. I get that. But if you're going to be anywhere, just like we talked about injuries, if you're going to be anywhere, it's best you be on a athletic team. Football, basketball, baseball, whatever. Because they are there. They're going to make sure they take care of you. Whatever situation you got going on, they're going to make sure. If you're scared about anything, they're going to make sure they take care of whatever they need to take care of. Get the police involved, everything.
especially a player of Brandon Miller's caliber.
Absolutely. So why do you feel you need to have a gun? I don't get that. That's the part I don't get. And then you chose to give that gun to another teammate. The minute you handed him that gun, you were an accessory. It's just like robbing a bank. If I'm driving you to the bank, and you tell me what you're going to the bank for, you rob that bank, someone gets killed, you are an accessory.
That's what I would think, but legally, he has not been charged with anything, which is surprising. Because
I
would have said
him
the same
gun.
thing you said from the outside. It really does look like that. Apparently, though they don't have enough evidence, they're not going to charge Miller. It doesn't look like, unless there's more information that comes out as we sit here today. But
but you've messed up your whole future. Even if you make it, even if they say we're not going to charge you with anything, that follows you now, because this is what's going to happen. You may not get charged, and I sort of understand, because they say, well, you didn't actually do the killing. I get that part, but he's going to be charged, Miles. He's going to go to jail if it's proven that he's guilty. He's going to jail. But you know what's going to happen next? The minute you sign that contract, her family has every right to come after you.
And, there will be a stain on Brandon Miller's reputation, probably for the entirety of his career.
And it's just unfortunate.
There should be. There should be. Because even though whatever, clauses in Alabama law don't allow them to indict Brandon Miller for what he did, it's still, the law doesn't extend into your morals. It doesn't extend into your conscience that clearly didn't tell Brandon Miller that, hey, maybe this isn't the right situation to get into. And it extends to Nate Oates. I know that he is innocent in this involvement in the situation, in the legal proceedings. But when I'm looking at a man who should be the moral leader for a team, and that's the way that he addresses a really gruesome and brutal incident that is plaguing this team, shame on Nate Oates and shame on the University of Alabama.
Brandon Miller, he should have been removed from the team. I'm not saying he should have been suspended from school. They should have removed him from the team. The minute they found out that it was his gun that was used as a head coach, you got to say, listen, we're not taking your scholarship away. We're not saying you can't go to – we are removing you from this team, because that's the best thing to do moving forward. Until we find out what's going on, you no longer can play. You no longer can be on the bench for us. You just can't. As much as the coach may not like it, that would have been the right thing to do. Again, I'm not asking you to suspend the guy from school, and if you would have done that, I would have understood. But at least remove him from the bench. You don't continue to let the guy play. That's giving a middle finger to the family of the victim. That's what it's doing.
I know Jonathan Hutton has thoughts on this, so we'll get into that with him coming up next. Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton, Caroline, Willy, D-Mase 1025, 1063 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Actor Portrayal.
Hi, I'm Diane, and my husband Jack has low testosterone.
Hi, I'm Jack. I knew something was wrong when I went from feeling energetic and youthful to tired all the time and not sleeping well, putting on belly fat, and my sex drive just dropped.
The fun, active Heartland lifestyle we always enjoyed was disappearing. Then our sex life declined, and eventually we just stopped.
I had to do something, so Diane and I went to the sexual health specialists at Tennessee Men's Clinic. We learned that nearly half of men over 50 suffer from ED and low testosterone. testosterone.
It was refreshing to hear that one size doesn't fit all. They have a variety of therapies depending on age, medical condition, and lifestyle. He's back to the man I fell in love with.
My energy's back. Our intimacy is better than it's been in years. I can't thank Tennessee Men's Clinic enough.
Your first visit to the Tennessee Men's Clinic is only $99. They have multiple treatment options for low T and ED. Book your appointment today. Call 615-208-9090 or book online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
Now, your Game Center update.
The Nashville Predators took down the Vancouver Canucks last night 5-4 in a shootout, and forward Ryan Johansson left last night's game with a lower body injury, and Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman tweeted this morning that Johansson will need surgery. Matt Duchene joined Chase and Michelle and weighed in on his teammate's injury.
He's one of the guys that makes this team go on and off the ice. It's tough to see losing a guy like that. So I think he's in good spirits. He's disappointed, but I saw him after the game last night, and so we got to pick up some slack here. That him being out of the lineup will leave for sure.
And your Tennessee Titans have some breaking news this afternoon. They've released offensive lineman Taylor Lewan after playing 9 seasons in the two-tone blue, and wide receiver Robert Woods after 1 season with the Titans. Lewan is a 3-time Pro Bowler and played his last game as a Titan back on September 19th against the Buffalo Bills. And the Vanderbilt Commodores will take on the LSU Tigers tonight on 93.3 Classic Hits in hopes of extending their winning streak to 6. I'm Nick Keyser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 1063.
A gunny performance. Do your job. And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063, The Game and the Game at Nashville app. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins us now. Hutton, I want to get into all of the Titans transactions, cutting Robert Woods, cutting Taylor Lewan, but before we do that, before we got to you, we were talking about the Brandon Miller situation in Alabama and how many layers this whole situation truly has of Brandon Miller's involvement, Brandon Miller's lapse in judgment in being involved with this, and then Nate Oates' response of, wrong place, wrong time, just a totally distasteful way to address it. And then add on top of it, the fact that he admitted to knowing about it and that the university knew about it. There's just so many layers to this story that look really, really bad for the University of Alabama. Your take on it?
Yeah, then you get the contract extension. Optically, that looks awful after the comments yesterday. We had Carol Robinson on, who was in the courtroom yesterday for the preliminary hearing. And a couple of things stood out about what she said and what was or was not testified to. But basically, the situation was he was driving the car, dropped off the guys, Darius Miles, and I believe the other guy's last name is Davis, and dropped off his friends and teammates at the bar, at the club, wherever this took place, on the Strip in Tuscaloosa. And the line was too long, so he did not stay. And then got a text message to bring the gun to Darius Miles. It was Miles' gun. And what was not said by law enforcement is whether or not the gun was already in the car that he was driving or not. We don't know that. But nonetheless, whatever he said back on January 15th, 16th, whenever they actually spoke to him, law enforcement was okay with it. Alabama's been okay with it. And I think the other thing that really stood out to me, this was news to us yesterday. This was not news to Alabama. Alabama has known about this detail since January 15th. And they've gone on this tear where at a point they're the number one team in the country, the leading scorer in the SEC, for the best team. And you look around going, man, they've sat on this for over a month, and Nate Oates still reacted that way and had that comment. That is even dumber than just in the moment finding out and being asked by the media about it. It was awful yesterday in how they handled it overall.
Yeah, I think that's another part of it is Alabama's knowing of the situation, and how will there be backlash of Alabama knowing about the situation and doing virtually nothing about it.
I think, Hut, tell me if you agree with this. Right now, the situation Alabama finds themselves in, which they put themselves in, one, you as much as you may love this kid, Brandon Miller, as much as he has been an asset for you on the court, as a head coach, as an AD, as a president, you got to remove him from the bench. You cannot no longer allow him, regardless if he didn't pull a trigger, he brought back the gun. You got to remove him from the court, and then furthermore, you got to remove the head coach from the sideline. You can't allow him to continue to coach if you're Alabama. If you do not do those things, it's a middle finger to the victim and the victim's family.
Well, but they're not going to, Mace, because today they announced a 4-year extension that is $4 million annually on average, according to Rothstein. I mean, that's that again. They haven't done anything since January 15th in regards to this particular part of the story. And what I don't know about Brandon Miller's side of this. They clearly do. I'm willing to at least hear them out on it, but that's my overall point is they have to explain what Miller knew or didn't know about what was going down. And should he have brought a loaded weapon back to the scene? Absolutely not. But not Bama, law enforcement, all of it. The assistant the chief deputy district attorney even said that there was nothing that they could charge him with based on how everything was explained and who copped to what and who said they did this or that. Davis admitted it was Miles that admitted giving Davis the gun or telling him where it was and saying there was one in the chamber, but it was Miller that drove the car back where the gun was either dropped off, delivered, whatever it would have been. I simply don't know that detail. That wasn't explained yesterday. But they've got to give better details than that, given this, because right now it looks awful on Alabama's end, knowing that I think people assume that they found out yesterday. They've known since the beginning. Nate Oates said that. This is nothing new. And then a day after all this, the university hands him a fat check, a raise. They announce it. So I don't view it as they're now going to do something when they haven't done anything for the last 6 weeks. That tells me I don't intend them to do anything right now.
Yeah, it may end up that way, Hut, but it's just, I mean, regardless if he had anything physically to do with the shooting, meaning Brandon Miller, the text was sent.
Yes.
He came back to the establishment with the gun. The gun didn't just, show up on its own. You brought it back.
He was there. He was on the scene when it went down. His windshield of the car was hit twice by gunfire. What's unclear, we don't know if it's return fire or if it is from the gun that was in the car originally with him that he brought back. But it was Davis that pulled the trigger, and it was Darius Miles, that told Davis where the gun was. So that's all been said by law enforcement in this preliminary hearing. And all this was yesterday was a hearing to determine whether or not it's going before a grand jury, which it is, and bond was denied. So this is where we are. But the one detail that law enforcement put in is how the gun was there, and it came through Miller.
And as Nate Oates said, he knew about that. So this brings up the question, even though legally it doesn't look like there's going to be any charges, at least as we sit here right now, but it brings up the question, what is your expectation level for the conduct of your players, your students, et cetera? We can think of a lot of examples of a player being held to a higher standard than just did he get charged with a crime or not. I brought up off the air to these guys, Hut, remember the awful rape case. Nobody wants to remember that.
Yep.
It's a bad memory. It's an awful thing that happened on the Vanderbilt campus. But one thing that happened, for example, was I'll just use. I don't think he was the only one, but Chris Boyd was a very, very good wide receiver that was not charged with a crime. He was basically thrown off of the team for just not, quote, doing the right thing when he became aware of what had happened, right? He had knowledge of what happened. He handled it one way. They didn't like how he handled it. He was thrown off the team, right? Never played again after that.
Yep.
So you don't have to be charged, for example, to be held responsible and be held to a higher standard. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, and I'm with you, and I'm not saying I wouldn't do anything to him. I'm saying, like, I'm looking at it from the purview of they haven't done anything yet, and that tells me, like, it's a middle finger saying, no, we're not going to do it. And going back to what you mentioned about Vandy, just to give an example of the opposite end of it, there was someone in the room. The roommate was in the room. He had to testify, so at least he had to give details of how he knew what was going on, but pretended to be asleep. But because of his testimony, he didn't get anything. He wasn't a part of the team. And I think that's the overall point, is that the teammates that were involved, it was conduct detrimental to whatever. We hear about that in the league. You don't have to be charged with anything to be suspended in the NFL. There are repercussions and discipline that come with poor decisions. Doesn't mean he has to be kicked off the team completely, but to say that he was wrong place, wrong time, and all these guys, it's college, they go out, I can't keep up with everybody after practice. That's just stupid. And it makes Nate Oates look like, he's more concerned about winning than setting an example and a higher standard for players that make poor decisions that lead to not just in, what could be a poor night of decision making, but this is a capital murder charge on one of his players, in Darius Miles, and another guy last name Davis, and there were two other players there. It was Miller and another player that averages, I think, about 14 minutes a game maybe for Bama, and both have played and have continued to play.
Coming up next, Jonathan Hutton will stick around. Want to get his thoughts on the Titans' moves of the day. But before we get into that, Hutton, tell us about Blend Bar.
Yeah, Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars, one of my favorite stops in Nashville, 508 Church Street, downtown. Voted the best old-fashioned in Nashville, receiving that nod over 14 other bars and restaurants in Music City. Blend Bar, they have an exclusive relationship with Davidoff Cigars, and that's the best cigar in the world. That allows rare cigars, and they have that access. Only Blend Bar can carry those. Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars, the best ventilation system in the industry that allows for enjoyment for the smokers and non-smokers alike. So you can go grab a drink. You don't have to smoke the cigar while you're there. You can grab the best old-fashioned in town, and your suit's not going to smell like cigars. That means your significant other is not going to complain either. That's important. So check us out. I'll see you at Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. Great for pre-gaming prior to Preds games. Great spot to watch the Preds games during the week whenever they're on the road, and it's a solid spot before an event. Our studio at 6th and Peabody, for instance. It's a quick walk there. On social media, at Blend Bar Nashville, on Instagram, or just swing by in person. 508 Church Street, 2 blocks from Bridgestone Arena and the Ryman. Blend Bar, luxury redefined.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Time to tell you about Lee Company, proud sponsor of our Nashville Predators coverage, which continues out west in San Jose Thursday as the Predators take on the San Jose Sharks. Lee Company is a proud sponsor of our pregame radio coverage, and when you come to Smashville when the team returns next Tuesday against the Pittsburgh Penguins, you'll see their displays all over Bridgestone Arena. In the meantime, as I've been saying all week, the weather's warm. You might have even had to kick on the air conditioning just to make sure it's running. Was it running? Was it running properly? If you haven't had it checked in a long time, it's time to do so. Call Lee Company 615-567-1037 1000. Of course, they're ready for you in a pinch, but the best way to take care of your house is to think ahead. Get those annual checkups with the home maintenance plan that Lee Company provides. 615-567-1000. Just call and say, I want to be part of that home maintenance plan. Tell me about it. You'll pay a small monthly fee, but you get those annual checkups on not just your air conditioning, but your heating, your cooling, your plumbing, and electric. All 4 of those systems, they will take care of you year-round. You get discounts on repairs if you're part of the home maintenance plan. 615-567-1000 or leecompany.com.
Al Gill here from my friends at Dunkin'. Warm up and feel the love with Dunkin'. Treat yourself and a loved one to a brown butter toffee hot or iced latte, which is superb paired with the bacon avocado tomato sandwich. Be sure to try the all-new stuffed biscuit bites. It's a warm biscuit dough wrapped around a mixture of bacon, scrambled egg, and cheddar cheese. Visit us at our newly remodeled Dunkin' on Briley Parkway in Nashville or the new Dunkin' in Mount Juliet and our other locations throughout Middle Tennessee. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
Do you own or operate a diverse small business? Expand your customer reach and access local procurement decision makers at the Nashville Area Chamber's Supplier Diversity Fair, sponsored by Truist. All diverse small businesses are invited. The fair begins at 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, February 28th at City Winery. Visit NashvilleChamber.com/events to register. That's NashvilleChamber.com/events. See you on the 28th at City Winery.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe, and in the past, hair loss was inevitable, but now you have a choice for thicker, fuller hair. Trust the experts with 45 years of experience at Hair Club. They've helped more than 500,000 clients love their hair again. No matter your age, stage of hair loss, or budget, Hair Club can customize a solution for you. And for a limited time, you can get 10% off when you book a free consultation today at hairclub.com/chase. That's hairclub.com/chase.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton with us now. Willy?
Okay, so Hut, a couple of moves by the Titans here, neither of which are a big surprise. But, you know, Taylor Lewan goes back a long way with this franchise. So this is still significant news. So in your mind, I don't know if this has been determined, but do you think there is no way he's coming back to the Titans under any circumstances, or is that still to be determined?
It's a really good question, because what's the number that Taylor is willing to play for versus what they have in mind for Taylor's role? Because I think the move today was inevitable. And you're right, it is significant. I mean, he's a former first-round pick that they gave significant money to, which is rare for this franchise as well, to bring back a guy on a big deal like they did. Normally those guys walk, or they're not on the roster for a second contract. But point being, I think there could be a role for Lewan. But I think the Titans issue and many teams around the league, what's the number Taylor's willing to play for versus what he's doing now, which, I mean, he's not injured. You know, he's not getting hurt. His body feels probably really good right now. But he's had 2 ACLs, right, in 3 years. And if you're bringing him back on any number, to me, you have to have a plan where he's not going to be available, because that's the trend of Taylor Lewan and why he's released today. So, look, I think they make the move, and then I think the idea would be, what do they do during free agency and the draft to then set up what would be, okay, here's the contract that we are willing to give Lewan if he's interested. And there's been no indication one way or the other on that. And Willie, you and I spoke on the show a couple weeks ago. I think he's off to do media. That's just the vibe, right? But at the same time, if he's going to play, I think it's here or it's nowhere. And it's because of the medicals, and the Titans know that better than anyone.
And I did take note. It was, I guess, a couple of months ago when he did the interview and said, look, I know that if I'm going to play again, I've got to be all in. And so I have to decide, am I committed to trying to win a job? And especially if I'm not guaranteed to be a starting player, if I'm not going to be making the same money that I'm used to be making. And it does seem like he's having a great time. And we knew he would be a natural for some of these broadcast things. So if that is speaking to him right now, you do wonder, can he gear himself back up to that level to be able to say, I got to work harder than I've ever worked to get back to the level that I need to be to continue to play?
Yeah, and for a team that, right now doesn't have the same outlook that it did 2 or 3 years ago, right? Like there's just a different vibe with it right now with the guys they're going to have to drop in order to make room under the cap to go and improve this roster, which has a lot of holes. But one of them was at left tackle prior to any general manager being fired or anything, because Lewan was injured and had the knee issue that was going to be a problem moving forward, regardless of the situation they're in with the cap or win-loss. So I think there is a crack in the door for him to return, but there are a lot of varying factors that go into that, where a month and a half from now, post-draft, there may not be that crack in the door based on what this team does or based on the commitment level of Lewan between now and then.
Now, they also released Robert Woods, and that's of no surprise, I think, to anyone, considering, his production this past season and him not fully over the knee injury. Do you expect any more big names to be released within the next week?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're happening today. I think Bud Dupree is an obvious guy to watch out for. Mase, we've talked about that with production versus availability and money. They can save money on the cap there. I believe by these two moves, they're somewhere around $2 million under the cap currently, which is good. They're cap compliant, so they don't have to make another move by the start of the league year if they don't want to, but they will. It seems like they're going ahead and doing that. Zach Cunningham is one to be on the lookout for as well. And Jamarco Jones, who didn't play a snap last year, got injured during camp on what was a free agent signing out of Seattle. He could be someone that they could, release and then actually bring back. I don't know the status of his health issue. I think it was a bicep issue. It may have been a pec. But nonetheless, that's where they can save some salary cap concerns and really start to gear up for what's going to be busy in free agency. They've not just the draft this year. I mean, they've got to get under the cap and then actually be aggressive. They've got many holes on the offensive line. We know wide receiver. And then beyond that, there's little pieces that end up being a lot of the sum of the parts that need to be much better to raise the bar from where they were a year ago.
Jonathan Hutton is with us, Outkick 360. Hutton, the rumor mill is rumor milling, and there was a report out of New York that they would be, quote, more interested than people would think in Ryan Tannehill. Do you think that it's a realistic possibility that the Titans could move on from Ryan Tannehill? And if so, who's quarterbacking the Titans?
Yeah, I mean, anything's on the table, Caroline. And the only thing I'm certain of is they are exploring so many different areas of this roster and what they're going to do, except for Jeffrey Simmons. I mean, I think it's a foregone conclusion. They value him long-term, and it's time to pay him. Beyond that, who knows with the collaboration that's going on inside the building. It's not – I don't look at the Jets as a possibility for Tannehill based on whatever they feel like they would – what are they going to trade? And from the Titans' perspective – what are you going to get in return other than I don't know what the pick would be, but the the issue I would have with that is why would you trade for Tannehill if you can sign Derek Carr or trade for Aaron Rodgers? And, the Titans need to make up their mind on the quarterback thing before maybe that decision has even come to fruition. And, look, it's not hard to link this up. Todd Downing goes there as the passing game coordinator, and all of a sudden the Titans have more interest, the Jets have more interest than what would have been considered whenever the speculation was going about the veteran quarterback that they're going to get. I think there's a scenario where Tannehill's not the quarterback. I just don't lean that direction because I don't think the percentages are higher than where I think he's returning to this roster under a restructured contract.
Now, quickly before we get you out of here, Hut, the most important free agent for the Tennessee Titans on this team, I know many may think, well, it's David Long Jr., but as I continue to look at it, because of the unknown with Jeffrey Simmons, I think you're going to sign him back, but we thought that of A.J. Brown, and it didn't happen. I think it's very imperative for them to get Teair Tart under contract very quickly because, to me, he was one of the most improved guys on that defensive line. Matter of fact, that team.
Consistent, yeah. I mean, he played his role well, and Vrabel mentioned him at the end of the season by saying that there are guys that need to understand that what they've done, while good, he's got to continue to raise his game and take it to the next level and commit this offseason more than he ever has, coming off of what was a very nice season and a career season for him in terms of production and playing time. And I'm with you. I mean, I think there's a rotational piece for him in there, especially given the numbers that they're going to potentially lose that are currently on the roster on the defensive front. He's been one of the guys they can actually trust and count on week in and week out. There's value there. The question is, how much value? And do you assess where you are before you bring him back, or do you trust him enough to where he's one of the integral parts of the here and now, but also, the 2, 3, 4 year outlook for what Rand Carthon is trying to build? There's definitely a role for him in Vrabel's defense and Shane Bowen's defense. And I think alongside Simmons, you're onto something there. David Long Jr., yes. Beyond that, it's hard to point to one specific free agent and say he's got to be back. And I guess that's the issue with the roster, right? There are pieces that you feel like can be replaced. And there are guys on the roster that are making a lot of money that can be replaced by cheaper and potentially younger talent in the draft. We're going to see a lot of movement. Today's just the start of that. And priorities will be listed. Tart's probably higher on the list than what the average fan thinks.
Jonathan Hutton, Outkick 360. Hut, we appreciate you.
Thank you so much, guys. Always enjoy this. Have a great day.
All right, thanks, Hutton. You too. We'll chat with you next week. Jonathan Hutton, Outkick 360, joining us on a Wednesday at noon, as he does every week. We've got a bunch of your thoughts on the Brandon Miller situation. I know we have thoughts as well. D-Mase and I, so we'll get into those coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, this is Phil Forsberg. And this is Smashville.
Forsberg, a shot, broken up in front, give it back to Forsberg, and here come the Habs.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
All right, make 2023 the year that you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. There's no fancy computer algorithms. There's no guys across the pond setting the lines for American sports. It's just the best team of odds makers in the business, and they're right there behind the counter at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Oh, I need some Vegas in my life. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promo bets that you will find anywhere. So download that Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com to start your battle against Vegas right now. It is my official sportsbook app. I love it. Whether you want to bet on basketball, hockey, football futures, it doesn't matter. It is all there. Just sign up, deposit your money, and get to betting and get to winning on the Superbook Sports app. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, Hey, it's Jared with my friends at Hiller. Kick off the new year with new upgrades for your home. This month, when you buy something you need for your home, Hiller will give you something you want. Pick your prize. Get a free 55-inch TV, Apple iPad, Solo Stove, or Nintendo Switch when you purchase new whole home generators or select new HVAC systems. Or a free 55-inch TV, Nintendo Switch, or Solo Stove when you upgrade to a new tankless water heater. There's no better time to take care of necessary home replacements, so call Hiller. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, is full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzels, and more in an Oktoberfest-inspired space. Visit BeerHouseNashville.com for their live music schedule. Get a $50 gift card for half off right now at TheGameNashville.com/deals while supplies last.
Did you know women only make up 14% of all engineers in the U.S.? Play Like a Girl is creating a more equal playing field by ensuring that every girl reaches her full potential. Help introduce a girl to engineering by becoming a mentor, donor, or volunteer. Learn more at iplaylikeagirl.org/mentor.
For the love of the climb, for the love of the fall, for the love of knowing your kids' laughter is the sweetest music there is, for the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
TSU basketball lives on 102.1 The Ville. Join Coach Brian Petty Collins and the Tigers for every great moment in the OVC. On your home for TSU basketball, 102.1 The Ville and the Ville app.
Hey, this is John Hines, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
There's a situation, just how comfortable were you with his proximity to that, and also if there's any NBA scouts who might be inquiring, what would you say to them about that?
Yeah, I mean, we've known the situation since we've been fully cooperating with law enforcement the entire time. I mean, the whole situation's sad. I mean, you just think of it, we team closed practice with a prayer for the situation today. Again, knowing that we had this trial today, I mean, you think of Jamia and her family and Kane, really think about her son Kane that was left behind. So it's sad. We knew about that. I mean, can't control everything anybody does outside of practice. Nobody knew that was going to happen. College kids are out. Brandon hasn't been in any type of trouble, nor seen any type of trouble on this case. Like, the wrong spot at the wrong time. So we'll address it when I'm sure NBA scouts will ask. They do their homework, but yeah, I think the article that it came out, it also stated Brandon's been interviewed. He's, they're comfortable with everything that happened there.
There you go. That was Alabama head basketball coach Nate Oates in response to the latest news about Brandon Miller. The SEC's leading scorer, Alabama, one of the top teams in the country. Brandon Miller, one of Alabama's best players, and his involvement in a murder that happened a couple of months ago with a former Alabama basketball player. The news being Brandon Miller brought a gun to Darius Miles, who ultimately took a young woman's life. And Nate Oates' responses are despicable, honestly. Despicable. I mean, proving and also admitting that he knew and the university knew about Brandon Miller's involvement and the subsequent inaction to do anything with Brandon Miller, have any sort of disciplinary action, to come forward and at least, work through this entire situation in a way that it would, the actions would elicit, I think is so horrible. And also the university extending Nate Oates yesterday. In the light of all of this, it is so distasteful. I think it has such a poor grasp on the issue at hand. I can't even put into words how inappropriate I think Nate Oates and the University of Alabama has handled this entire situation.
Well, they just proved that slogan, right? The slogan that the SEC has. It just means more. They proved it absolutely right with what they did. The Alabama whether it be the head coach, the AD, the president, y'all all proved that slogan right. Again, I'm not saying that Brandon Miller needs to be kicked out of school. I'm not saying that he needs to be thrown in jail. The guy that pulled the trigger and the guy that gave the gun to the guy that pulled the trigger, those two individuals need to be in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Miller and the University of Alabama, there needs to be consequences to the action because you chose, for whatever reason, you chose to drive back knowing that a text was sent saying, bring the gun back or whatever was said. You chose to drive back with a firearm in your possession. I don't even know if they hadn't even said whether the firearm was legal or not.
It's my understanding it was not Brandon Miller's. It was Darius Miles.
Exactly.
And he left it in Brandon Miller's car.
Exactly. So again, I'm not saying that Brandon Miller needs to be prosecuted along with the other two guys.
Per Alabama law,
Yeah.
there's
Exactly.
no way that he can be prosecuted. Yeah.
But as a university, you say this, until we get all of this situated, you can no longer play. We're not taking your scholarship away from you. You can attend class, but you cannot play. You cannot step foot on court. And by the way, head coach, you cannot be on the sideline. I don't care what it means for the program moving forward, but because of your actions, because you did not discipline Brandon Miller, again, I'm not saying kick him out of school. Remove him from the bench. He can no longer be on the sideline with us because he walks into any other arena. He's fair game to their fans to say whatever they want to say and do, and basically to say whatever they want to say. Heckle him however they want to heckle him. So to not have that distraction for your teammates, you got to come off the sideline. You got to come off the bench. You may be able to return later, which I don't think he would anyway because he would go into the draft. But right now, because of what you chose to do, there has to be consequences to your actions. Again, I'm not saying that the young man needs to go to jail along with the other two guys. I'm not saying that his scholarship needs to be taken.
But it's the perception.
Exactly. Just remove him from. You've removed kids from the sideline for much less.
Mm-hmm. And I look at like I don't think that the University of Alabama had any intention of addressing this or any sort of subsequent punishment to Brandon Miller, obviously, because they knew about it the entire time. So it makes me think, naturally, well, what else has happened behind closed doors that Alabama has not addressed? What other disciplinary matters have gone just swept under the rug that weren't exposed by a trial? Maybe none. Maybe it's not fair of me to think that, but it's my natural inclination to go to that point of what else has been covered up. And I would be naive to think that there isn't several other universities and football programs and athletic departments that would probably like to brush a whole lot under the rug and just keep things out of the limelight. I'm fully aware of that. My alma mater is probably very guilty of it too. But it's just the unfortunate reality of a woman losing her life and somebody that did play a role in it hasn't been held responsible for it. That makes me feel icky, honestly.
And here's the difference, because I think if it were football, I think they would have dealt with it much differently. If it's Nick Saban, Alabama football, this happens, I would tend to think Nick removes him from the team.
You'd hope.
Yeah, because there's a bigger spotlight on Nick Saban in the program, in his program, the football program.
Yeah.
My thing is why Oates didn't feel the need to do that as well. because now not only do we have to, make sure that Brandon Miller is sort of put to the side and, just you're no longer with the team and you can stay in school, but you got to deal with your legal problems. We're going to help you, but you got to deal with them. Now you drag everybody else into this. You drag his teammates into this. You drag assistant coaches into this. You drag people into it that had nothing to do with it. Why? Because you want to win. That's basically what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Because you want to win.
Address it from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then we wouldn't be in this situation. We wouldn't be looking at Nate Oates in this light. We wouldn't be looking at the University of Alabama in this light. Take accountability and take care of your program.
You know what was kind of just like not necessarily not funny, but it was like, how dare you? He says, well, we had a closed, meeting and a prayer before practice. You knew about this weeks ago. Don't tell us you just had a closed, silent prayer for the young lady now. What made you, why didn't you have it weeks ago? So you're just telling us you had it now? Come on, man. Let's just speak honest here.
Don't pedal backwards.
Exactly.
Now.
Let's just speak honest here. He cares more about winning than anything else Oates does. That's basically what it boils down to. You can't convince me of nothing else.
That's what it looks like, at least. We've got a bunch of phones on this. I swear we are right to your phones. Coming up next, Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Your home for MTSU basketball is 94.9 The Fan.
3 ball, yes sir!
All the big shots and moments live here. MTSU basketball is on a station built for you. 94.9 The Fan.
What's up, Nashville? Jeremy here at Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. We are a trendy, upscale, full-service bar and cigar lounge in the heart of downtown. 2 blocks from Bridgestone Arena, Ryman Auditorium, and Nissan Stadium. Come check out the best old-fashioned in Nashville and let my excellent staff create your next luxury experience. With our state-of-the-art ventilation system and imported leather furniture, make us your next stop for a night out on the town. Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. We are luxury redefined.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Vanderbilt fans, your flagship home for the broadcast of football and men's basketball is 93.3 Classic Hits. And for the weekly Commodore Hour featuring head coach Jerry Stackhouse, tune in to 94.9 The Fan on Monday nights at 6 p.m.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics wants to thank their patients for voting them the #1 orthopedic practice in the Nashville Scene Poll for 3 years in a row. Their physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
Chris, this needs to go to Parkville by 3.
Joy to the holiday packages that keep coming at Jimenez Couriers.
It's coming your way, but the drop-off location is changing.
She needs delivery drivers with the gift of punctuality.
Anyone looking to pick up some overtime? Anyone?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Start your day with a cup of Joe. Ugh, he's gonna think that's stupid.
Wait, what?
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rexroad. There, that sounds better.
Thank you so much.
Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mase, 1025-1063, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. I promise phones, and we are right to them. We've got a lot of texts on Brandon Miller. We'll take those, but anything is on the table. The Tennessee Titans, the Nashville Predators, to your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tim is up next. What's up, Tim?
Hey, Derek, I agree with part of what you said, and you mentioned what I was going to say. In a situation where he took the gun, had he not taken the gun, she probably could possibly still be alive.
Yeah, well, I would tend to think she would be.
Yeah, then the other deal is, if you're going and you work at a bar and you're a bartender and you serve someone and you overserve them and they're drunk and they leave out and they run over somebody and kill them, guess what? The bar and the bartender can be held responsible. How can he not be held accountable for part of this?
Yeah,
and what Nate Oates is doing is making a joke of the whole situation. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. No, he wasn't. He was at a place where they blocked the car where she couldn't get out. His car was used to block it, and his car was hit with 2 different bullets, and the lady is dead. That's the joke. The joke is Nate Oates is making a joke of it.
Yeah, thank you for your call, Tim. Very fair points. And that's the unfortunate situation. Is I understand under Alabama law, Brandon Miller is innocent. But I don't know how you can look at the entire situation and what has happened with Brandon Miller and then the subsequent lack of action from the University of Alabama and think that everything is fine here. I think Tim brings up a very fair point about when you're involved in a situation, like the bar example. You've overserved somebody, they go out and they drive drunk and they kill somebody. Well, the bar is liable for that. Even though the bar didn't do anything, they didn't physically get behind the wheel and break the law, the bar is still going to be liable for it. It's a chain of action. And that's exactly the situation that Brandon Miller finds himself in. Even though he's not held liable by the law, the University of Alabama and Nate Oates have that is their job. To hold a certain standard for the basketball team, for the athletics department as a whole. They have to protect themselves. And Brandon Miller didn't do anything to help himself.
No, he didn't. And the caller's right. Listen, yes, and you're right as well, Caroline. Yes, by Alabama law, he can't be prosecuted or he won't be prosecuted.
For the detectives,
but that doesn't exempt you from having to face consequences from the university. Like, this is what, because of your actions, because you chose to do this for whatever reason, even if you thought he was just going to use the gun just to scare somebody and wasn't going to use it, you chose to drive the gun back. So you are responsible in a sense, so you need to be held accountable by the university. I'm not saying that this kid needs to be kicked out. But you do need to be removed from the sideline because what you're telling them is essentially, hey, don't worry about it. What you did was okay. We won't punish you. You can still play basketball and you will get drafted. And then you can kind of move away from this thing. You may be able to move away from it, but that young lady's parents will never be able to move away from it. I don't get this. It makes... As a parent, Oates, as a parent, you should know better. As a parent, if that would have happened to your child, you would have wanted that player dismissed. You would have probably wanted him in jail. But you still let him sit on your sideline. As a matter of fact, you get to coach him, and you got an extension, and you knew about it.
That's the really bad.
You have no morals whatsoever.
Like Michael in Clarksville texts in and says, so you want to punish a kid when he clearly didn't break any laws according to the sheriff and faces no charges.
What's the guy's name again?
Michael in Clarksville.
Okay, Michael in Clarksville. If he doesn't drive the gun back, is the lady alive? Can you text that back to us quickly? Because I would tend to say the lady is alive today. So whether he pulled the trigger or not, you helped in all of this. Why? Because you think about it logically. Don't give me this other stuff. Just think about it logically. If your friend asks you to bring the gun back, if you are a good friend, you're like, hell no, I'm not bringing it back. What are you thinking? You can end your life right here. Whatever you're thinking, you need to slow down. Okay, but if you didn't, you took the gun back. What do you expect to happen? When you insert a gun into a situation, what do you expect to happen? Think logically, people. God, don't give me this. Think logically. If he doesn't drive the gun back, what happens? I'm not saying that Brandon Miller needs to be prosecuted. Are you not listening to me? I did not say the man needs to be prosecuted. I didn't even say he needs to be kicked out of school. But there needs to be consequences for your actions. So what you're saying is these kids can run around here lawless without any consequences. I wonder how your household looks if you believe that.
If you think that the arm of the law is the only extent of accountability that we as human beings should face, or especially athletes should face, that's on you. It's not just about what the law says or what the sheriff says. It's about the fact that a young woman lost her life and he was a part of it.
Exactly. Damn the basketball part. A young lady lost her life. And again, I'm not saying that Brandon Miller needs to be kicked out of the university. Hear me and hear me loudly. He needs to be held accountable, which means you cannot play for the University of Alabama right now. You can't because of what's going on. And Oates, you can't coach right now.
Doug is up next. What's up, Doug?
I love hearing D-Mase's passion on this issue. And I don't like I love it, mate, but I do not like the statement, wrong place, wrong time. There's another wrong that he left out. A wrong decision. You can be anywhere. Sometimes it's not where you need to be. But when you make a wrong decision, and then there's the subject of weapon responsibility. I would hate to know that a weapon that I own or was responsible for was part of taking a life. And then I'm going to say this, but there's no amount of money that will ever bring that young lady back. But it's not over, Mr. Miller. Civilly, you get that first NBA contract, and I wouldn't blame that bandit for taking every penny they can ever get out of you for the rest of your life. That's my opinion.
Yeah, thank you for your call, Doug. Very good point. It's incredibly unfortunate.
Yeah, it's just, I understand. I've been a college student. Caroline, you've been a college student. Nick, you've been a college student. We all, at certain times in our college lives, we all may have, did something that we think back like, man, I shouldn't have did that. Whether it be the smallest things, right. And typically it was the smallest things. It's like, man, I shouldn't have did that. And my 18-year-old self was just so silly, and I shouldn't have done that. Like me, I can point to probably 3 or 4 things. Not my silly 18, 19-year-old self, I shouldn't have done that. But luckily, and there were some things that I did that I had to pay for, that I was disciplined by the head coach at the time. And you know what? It was like, okay, I understand it. I may not like it, but there's consequences to my actions. That's all I'm saying in this situation. It seems like there's no accountability here. There's no accountability with the head coach, and there's no accountability for Brandon Miller. Now, the other 2 guys, if they go to jail, damn, throw them under the jail. The other 2, throw them under the jail. But Brandon Miller has to understand, and I'm pretty sure he does now. I'm sure his conscience is killing him right now. Excuse me, sorry for using that word. But I'm sure his conscience is just weighing on him right now. Mm-hmm. But when a kid, a young person, does something and there's no consequences, whatever the consequences are, it could be minor. There's no consequences for their actions. Now you fed into what many people have said. These guys and girls are invincible. Mm-hmm. Once they play on a big university, you can't touch them. Again, I'm not saying that Brandon Miller needs to have his scholarship taken away, needs to be kicked out of school. I'm not saying that. But obviously, there's no consequences for what he chose. He chose to drive the car back with the gun. The guy didn't say, based on a text message, he didn't say, hey, come back. Just come back and get me, or come back. Bring the car back. Right. He said the gun. Mm-hmm. So you knew exactly why you were going back, to take a firearm to an individual. No, you didn't pull the trigger. No, you may not have understood or knew what it was for. But he said in the text, from what we know, bring the gun back. You chose to drive the gun back. there should be some consequences from the university toward you, meaning you cannot play for us at this particular time.
But I'll be totally honest with you, D-Mase. Anything that Alabama does from this point moving forward, if they do hold Brandon Miller accountable, if they do suspend him or hold Nate Oates accountable for his comments, whatever it might be, it's too little too late. You knew about this. Nate Oates said, we knew about this situation. So anything that they do moving forward is just backstepping and trying to erase what they already did. You should have taken action from the beginning. You should have held those people accountable from the beginning. Quit trying to clean up your reputation now. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Appreciate everyone's insight on this. I know it's a really heavy situation, but it's a reality of what we're facing in college sports and in sports in general. But coming up next, there's been a kind of an AJ versus the Titans battle ever since AJ got traded. It's whose fault was it? Was it AJ? Was it the Titans? So on and so forth. I think there's a third party that we haven't been talking enough, and AJ may have just revealed it. We'll get into all of that coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Signs First, Nashville's foremost destination for event signage and physical media. Located just minutes from Broadway, our team of design, production, and installation professionals can help you create an unforgettable event. Stand out. Be different. Go to sfnash.com.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Hi, this is NFL Alumni Tennessee Chapter President and former All-Pro linebacker Al Smith. On the field, I always wore a helmet and pads to make sure I was protected. Life is no different. That's why I got vaccinated and boosted against COVID-19. Protection keeps you in the game. Talk to your doctor. Get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself, your family, and others against COVID-19 today.
More information at nflagearup.org/Tennessee.
Now, your Game Center update.
Your Nashville Predators took down the Vancouver Canucks last night 5-4 in a shootout, and forward Ryan Johansson exited last night's game with a lower body injury, and Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman tweeted this morning that Johansson will need surgery. Matt Duchene joined Chase and Michelle and weighed in on his teammate's injury.
He's one of the guys that makes this team go on and off the ice. It's tough to see losing a guy like that. So I think he's in good spirits. He's disappointed, but I saw him after the game last night, and so we got to pick up some slack here that him being out of the lineup will leave for sure.
And some breaking news from the Tennessee Titans this afternoon. They've released offensive lineman Taylor Lewan after playing 9 seasons in the two-tone blue, wide receiver Robert Woods after his first year with the Titans, and kicker Randy Bullock added to the list this afternoon as well. Lewan is a 3-time Pro Bowler and played his last game as a Titan back in Week 2 against the Buffalo Bills. And your Vanderbilt Commodores will take on the LSU Tigers tonight on 93.3 Classic Hits starting at 5:30. I'm Nick Kieser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit theGameNashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Bobby and Rex Road. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase.
Stone Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 106.3.
Crank City scores. On both sides of the one big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. So I know that everybody in this town is probably so sick and tired of hearing about A.J. Brown, but it's almost like you can't get enough of it. It's like you can't get away from it, because every time that we think A.J. Brown is settled and we're happy for him in Philadelphia, he pulls himself back in. And the latest with A.J., and I always say A.J. going A.J. A.J. always is going to insert himself in a situation, but I think that this is beyond just AJ's gonna AJ, because AJ was on the Raw Room podcast, and honestly, I'd never heard of this podcast before. I listened to the whole thing; it was pretty entertaining.
Well, we know about it now.
Because AJ was spilling some tea. So he went on the Raw Room podcast, and he was talking about, the Super Bowl run, his time in Philadelphia, and he also divulged a whole lot of information about the negotiations that went down with Tennessee, how things came to be in Philadelphia, his relationships in Tennessee. And AJ said, he's like, I have great relationships with Vrabel, great relationships with everybody in Tennessee. He set the record straight there. But I think the most interesting thing to me that really stood out was how things went down both between the Titans and between the Eagles. And he points out, things kind of started with Jalen Hurts and I just talking. Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown are good friends. Jalen Hurts was at A.J. Brown's daughter's birthday party. They were just, throwing the ball around. And Jalen Hurts just kind of threw out the idea. It was like, hey, you should come to Philadelphia. And it was kind of like an okay, haha, yeah, sure, okay. This is according to A.J. Take everything with a grain of salt. Probably. Yeah, probably. So it just kind of came up in that. Which totally is tampering now that you bring it up, D-Mase. But the way that everything came down. Let's hear it from AJ. Let's hear it from the horse's mouth first. This was AJ Brown and the negotiations with the Titans, the numbers, and how he approached things subsequently.
My agent called me. He was like, hey, like Philly finna try to like really push for you. They trying to push for you, whatever. I began a couple teams, like the Chiefs tried to get me, a couple other teams like Jets and all that other stuff, but Philly making a strong push. Like, you gonna see what happens. I'm like, all right. I'm like, but you know what I want to do. I'm telling him, you know what I want to do. Yeah. But like, he told me they on board, so I'm talking about I go work out. I'm talking about I'm pissed off. Like I'm pissed off. I'm like, that ain't what I was hearing. That ain't what y'all been telling me. You know what I'm saying?
Talking about both sides.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, bro, ain't no way. You know what I'm saying? Like I gave everything I had, play, hurt, everything. Like, so that's when like my feelings got involved.
Okay, so he goes on to say that the Titans offered him $16 million with incentives up to 20. We knew that. We know that. And those were the numbers that AJ brought forward of what the Titans offered. So he goes to his agent and asks about, what should I do? He's like, I'm new to trade negotiate or to contract negotiations. I'm new to trade talk. What am I supposed to do? You're my agent. You guide me. His agent, Tory Dandy, he's known as the wide receiver agent. He represents DK, represents Debo, represents a bunch of wide receivers across the league. Tory Dandy tells AJ, cut off communication. Stop talking to them, which is something that we know. This was an article that was put out by TD that the Titans talked about how AJ wasn't responding to texts, wasn't responding to phone calls, wasn't even responding to texts directly from Mike Vrabel. So completely cut off communication from the Titans. This was the advice of Tory Dandy, AJ Brown's agent. And the number that A.J. Brown put forward that he was offered from the Titans was $16 million with incentives up to 20. What we also know is, per TD's reporting, and this was an article that was put out on ESPN.com after the draft, after he talked to A.J., after he talked to the Titans about both sides, TD reported that the Titans offered 20. A.J. Brown talks about what he would have done to stay in Tennessee. This was A.J. on Raw Room. Okay, well, AJ says he would take up to 20. Or, excuse me, he said it would take 22 to stay in Tennessee.
Shoot, they just never move, bro. Like, they stopped. They would never, like, move. Like, even all the way up to draft, like, bro, like, of course, like we asked for like a crazy number because that's start of
You
negotiating.
start- yeah,
You're supposed to start high. You're supposed to start high.
Yeah.
You're supposed to start high. But my agent knew like what number I took. You know, I'd have took 22 to stay in Tennessee, and it had nothing to do with football. Like me staying in Tennessee had nothing to do with football.
Yeah.
It had everything to do with my daughter. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, for people to say like I ain't want to be in Tennessee, that's stupid, bro. Like,
Okay, so we're hearing from AJ. This is what AJ says. He would have taken 22 to stay in Tennessee. He said the Titans offered him 16 with incentives up to 20, and that the Titans weren't budging. Tory Dandy said cut off communication. Don't talk to the Titans. Based off of this information, and you let me know what you think about it. This is my interpretation of the situation. Tory Dandy knew that the Titans were willing to budge and pay A.J. Brown $20 million. A.J. would have stayed in Tennessee for 22. Tory Dandy knew what the Eagles were going to offer, which was $25 million a year. So Tory Dandy told A.J. Brown to cut off communication with the team and didn't tell A.J. that the Titans were willing to budge. So basically, Tory Dandy lied to A.J. Brown. This is just my interpretation of it. Lied to A.J. Brown, didn't tell him that the Titans were willing to offer 20, and told him to stop communicating with the team. Because all A.J. Brown is saying is that they offered him 16 with incentives up to 20. If A.J. Brown would have stayed in Tennessee for 22, and we know that the Titans wanted to keep A.J., I think both sides would have been willing to kind of bend or break to get A.J. a number that he felt comfortable in staying in Tennessee for. So we talk about, was it, A.J. that led to this trade? Was it the Titans, not willing to pay A.J. Brown the money they wanted? If we're going to point fingers at anyone being the reason why A.J.'s not in Tennessee anymore, it's the agent. Because the agent wasn't divulging all of the information to A.J. Brown. And he wanted A.J. to sign a bigger contract in Philadelphia.
Yeah, because, I mean, if indeed, and it could have went that way. I don't know. It could have went several different ways. But if indeed it happened that way, shame on the agent. Because, if you have an individual, your player, and the team, they started off at 16. You probably started off at 25. The team says, listen, we're not paying that much. You knew they were not going to pay that much. AJ even said as much. Yeah, we throw out a crazy number. We knew they wasn't going to pay
Why
that.
wouldn't you?
But that's just a part of negotiation.
Yeah.
But if as the agent, you knew that the Titans would eventually come up to 20. That's why on one hand, it's like, okay, I see why the agent wanted him to cut off communications, but on the other hand, did you cut off communications because you didn't want AJ to know that the Titans were willing to offer him $20 million?
And if he didn't want AJ to tell the Titans, look, I'll take 22 to stay, because he knew what was on the table from Philadelphia.
And if that is indeed the case, then shame on the agent, because, listen, it looks better for him, the agent, if he can say, my guy gets $25 million, I can get you what my guy got, or matter of fact, I can get you more, because I am the agent to the receivers. Look at the 4 receivers that I got. They all average over $20 million per year. If that's why you chose to do it, then shame on you, because you're not looking out necessarily for what your client wants. You work for him. He doesn't work for you. Okay? If indeed that number was $20 million that the Titans eventually wanted to come up to, $20 million. Because even though it averages out to $25 million, you're not getting $25 million per. It's like over the contract. And who's to say that they're going to, that they won't void the last year or two of your contract? I think it was a 5-year deal, somewhere around that 4 or 5 year deal.
I think 4 years, yeah.
So who's to say that Philly says, you know what, we're voiding that last year of your contract? So that money that you thought you were going to get, you're not getting now. Now you have to go out and try to get that amount or close to that amount, depending on your play. Now, if you're playing well, you're going to get that and some. But if you're starting to decline a little bit, you're not going to get nowhere near that number that you were supposed to get the last year or two of your deal. This is why I think young guys, and I'm not saying that AJ wasn't. This is why young guys need to be more proactive in what their contract situation and knowing everything. Like, I need to know whatever they say. I need to know it, good or bad. I need to know it because I don't want to get into a situation where, you know, I go and take this money over here and it comes out that the team was willing to, you know, come up to 20, 21 million. But I went over here for, you know, basically, you know, 25 average, but it's not really 25.
It's 25, like, with weird.
Exactly.
Like, the structure is kind of weird and the incentives are kind of off. Like, per TD's reporting, the Titans were willing to do $20 million without incentives, and they could go from there. So based off of what AJ said he would stay in Tennessee for, what the Titans were offering really wasn't that far off.
It wasn't, but again, I get it.
And I don't blame AJ for going to Philly.
But what I do say is this, AJ, it was about the money. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
AJ, get your money. Get as much money as you possibly can get in this game, because when they're done with you, they're done with you. I mean, on a playing field. When they're done with you, they're done with you. If you can't produce for them anymore, for this league anymore, then it's like your services are no longer needed because you can't produce. Rightfully so.
It's a cutthroat business.
Absolutely. So if you can get the money, get it. Take it. But don't say it wasn't about the money. 99.9% of contracts is about the dollar. That's what it's about. Guys are not just taking sweetheart deals and staying with teams left and right. You don't see that. Guys understand that I have a window here. I need to make as much money as I possibly can. Yes, to say with the Titans, I might have taken $1 million less, somewhere around there.
Do it to keep your family in one place.
Keep your family here. But I'm not just gonna take anything. So it was about the money, because you know what? It's about the money with the franchise. If they don't want to pay you, it's about the money. If they give you the money, then it's about the money. They want to keep you. If you chose to take a contract somewhere else, you know what it was about? The money that they were willing to pay you. Either they were willing to pay you and the other team wasn't, or they were willing to pay you more, a lot more than what your former team was able to pay you.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get more into this. I see your thoughts on this. We'll get to those. Plus, I know it's all behind us, and I know it's not going to bring A.J. Brown back, but I think it's interesting to think about. If A.J. did have all of the information at his disposal, how different would the Tennessee Titans look today? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
We are your home for every big pass.
Kevin Harvick takes over the race lead.
Big wreck.
Trouble turn 2. One car is around and hard into the outside wall.
And big win.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won the Daytona 500.
Yeah! Woo!
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You can trek through the savannas of Africa. Wait on the magic moment on the Great Plains of North America. Or find the thrills of Patagonia. You can book your dream hunt at the SEI Convention, coming to Nashville for the very first time. Come find your adventure February 22nd through February 25th. It's the ultimate sportsman's market, a place for every hunter. And this year, it's happening Music City style, with sold-out performances by Big and Rich and Leonard Skinner. But you can still find your outdoor adventure and rock out with the Frontman with Gretchen Wilson. It's a celebration of the outdoor lifestyle, February 22nd through February 25th. Come find your adventure. Just log on to safariclub.org. One more time, that's safariclub.org. This convention will sell out, so reserve your spot today. Come find your adventure.
Genesis is actually a new beginning.
Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon talking about why it's called Genesis.
I love the symbolism of the name. It's a new beginning.
Boaz wanted the name of his company to mean something, to reflect his core values and the importance of starting relationships for people in love, as well as the relationship he wants with each and every customer.
It's a new beginning in their life for the relationship between us, the jeweler, the Genesis Diamond, and the customer, and it should last forever. Everything we do is for the customer.
Walk into Genesis and you can feel it. Genuine people who are solely focused on celebrating the best moments of your life.
Is not only my passion, is my culture. Genesis is the book where God created the world, the day and night, the man and the woman. Every diamond engagement ring that we specially created for the customer is a new beginning for amazing, lasting relationship.
Come start your amazing, lasting relationship today at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Do you own or operate a diverse small business? Expand your customer reach and access local procurement decision makers at the Nashville Area Chamber's Supplier Diversity Fair, sponsored by Truist. All diverse small businesses are invited. The fair begins at 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, February 28th at City Winery. Visit NashvilleChamber.com/events to register. That's NashvilleChamber.com/events. See you on the 28th at City Winery.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are good to go. Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Yes, there is that too. Is AJ Brown on the trade block, Mike Vrabel?
As long as I'm the head coach, I love AJ professionally, personally. You know, I've gotten him to know him well as his coach and enjoy seeing him as much as I possibly can. So, saw him here, working out here earlier, said hi. So, as long as I'm the coach here, I would want to have A.J. Brown on my football team.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel on the Rich Eisen Show. That was April 2022, so ahead of the draft, and this was kind of in the middle of all of the trade rumors and contract negotiations. And I think that clip and that sentiment has been held against Mike Vrabel. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I believe him that he wanted A.J. Brown to stay. Why wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. And A.J. Brown in the podcast talks about how he'd go over to Vrabel's house all the time. He'd bring his daughter over there, that he was super close with Vrabel's family, that Vrabel was close with A.J. Brown's whole family. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that they had a great relationship, and Mike Vrabel wanted him to stay. But just based off of, and this is my interpretation of the podcast, this is based on no fact whatsoever, my interpretation of what A.J. Brown said on the podcast, that the Titans offered $16 million with incentives up to $20 million. That he said that his agent, Tory Dandy, said that the Titans weren't willing to budge. Per TD's reporting, and it's a great article back from around the draft time last year, that the Titans were willing to pay $20 million with no incentives. But the agent told them to cut off communication with the team. That's what AJ said. That's my interpretation of it all. But TD said that AJ knew about the 20.
Yeah, but I wonder this, because it's not necessarily because they could have paid him 20 per year, and that's a lot of money. Hell, it's a lot of money.
I'd take it. Hey Chase, if you're listening, I'd take $20 million.
Hey Chase, I need $20 million per year.
Or else I'm going to Philadelphia.
Exactly. Hey, we're going to Philadelphia by the end of the day. No, but I wonder what was the guarantee money. Like, what were the Titans willing to offer guaranteed compared to Philly's guarantee? Because Philly didn't guarantee the whole contract. We know that. But how much of the contract was the Titans willing to guarantee? Now, yes, you can pay me $20 million per year, and Philly's paying me $25 million. But how much are you guaranteeing me of that 20 per year? Or how much are you guaranteeing me, say, if they want to pay him 20 per year for 4 years, $80 million, how much of that $80 million were you guaranteeing me?
In Philadelphia, AJ signed a 4-year, $100 million contract. Average AAV $25 million a year. Of that $100 million across 4 years, 57 of it is guaranteed.
Okay.
So a little over half.
So how much were the Tennessee Titans willing? Because I'm sure it would have been a 4 or 5 year deal as well.
How much to do 4 years, $20 million, $80 million.
So how much of that $80 million were you going to guarantee A.J. Brown? Were you going to guarantee him $60 million? of that 80 compared to what Philly guaranteed you, 25 per, but we're only guaranteeing you, 57? So in my book.
That was from Philly.
Yeah, that's from Philly. And we don't know what the Titans were willing to guarantee. Now, if the Titans were willing to guarantee, 60 of the 80, I'm doing the math, even though even though the 25 per year looks better, the 60 guarantee looks much better than the 57 guarantee.
It's the cash.
Yeah. That's my money. 60 is mine. I'm going to get that no matter what. I'm going to get 57 no matter what. But here's the caveat in that. I'm not going to get taxed as much in Nashville than I will in Philly. So I'm going to be able to hold on to more of my money, more of my $60 million than more of my $57 million. Yeah, on average, I'm making 25, but I'm able to hold on to more because they guaranteed me more. Now, I don't know what the guarantees were. Now, obviously, they were not close to what Philly was guaranteeing, obviously, because they took the money.
Maybe not.
You felt that deal was better based upon the average per year and the guaranteed money. I would want to know, what was their guaranteed money? We know that they were willing to pay 20 per, but how much of that was going to be guaranteed of the 80?
And I don't know that. I'm sure that was probably part of the negotiation.
Exactly. So I'm sure that's one reason why, after talking with his agent, that they chose to go the Philly route, because maybe they were getting more guaranteed money compared with the Titans, and not only more guaranteed, my average per year was more than what the Titans were willing to pay me. So I get it. But again, it goes back to, it's about the money. It's always about the money in sports, more than likely. Just follow the trail of money. It'll lead you right where you want to go in sports.
And I do totally understand it. I mean, this is a business, both on the team side of things and on the player side of things. You got to get paid now. NFL, not for long. Cash in on it while you can. It's just based off of what it sounded from AJ, is that he didn't have all of the information. Or maybe he just didn't present the information on the podcast. And I don't know. But I do think about it. Let's say he didn't know all of the information. And I don't know if that's for certain that he did or not. Let's say if he did, if he knew that the Titans were willing to offer 20, if he knew the Titans were willing to offer 20, and he did want to stay in Tennessee, as much as he made it sound like he wanted to stay in Tennessee in the podcast, he said he wants to stay here for his daughter. He said when he found out about the trade, he was in tears. He was angry with the team. I get it. I totally understand. And if Mike Vrabel wanted to keep A.J. Brown in Tennessee as badly as he wanted to, as badly as I believe he said he wanted to, I do think that each side would be willing to bend or break a little bit.
But I don't think
from the 20 to the 22.
Yeah, but I don't think it had anything. Had Mike Vrabel, I believe this is probably one of the reasons why Amy chose to go a different route, along with other reasons. But I'm sure if Vrabel was more involved with the negotiations because what did they throw out after Rand Carthon got hired? Collaboration. This is the big word going around, facility, collaboration. And that's great. But that tells me that there's a possibility Vrabel wasn't entrenched into the talks as much as he probably would have liked.
Maybe so.
Exactly. So he wanted to keep AJ, but ultimately he didn't have that much power to say, we need to give him $20 million per without incentive, $20 million per, and we need to guarantee him more money than what Philly's going to guarantee him. I don't think he felt he didn't have that power to say and do that. Maybe that's why they chose to go in another direction, because AJ, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I read the article. I read the transcript of the podcast. He wasn't even talking to John Robinson.
No,
AJ wasn't. Yeah,
that's another thing.
Exactly.
that's not normal to not talk to the GM when you're going through contract negotiations. No,
but if
contract
the
negotiations to that level,
to that level, and if the relationship, if you have a great relationship with the head coach, and I believe AJ does and still do, then I'm sure AJ would have enjoyed the opportunity to talk to John, about the contract, like just like in passing by, like, what's going on, hey, we're gonna get a deal. Don't worry about it. We'll be fine. To reassure him, we'll be because Mike Vrabel was trying to reassure him, like, listen, we want him, we want you, As long as I'm the coach, I want you here. That's the reassurance he got from the head coach. What was he getting from the GM? It seemed like he wasn't getting that reassurance from the GM. So I understand.
He was getting it from Mike Vrabel.
Yeah. So I understand
but Mike Vrabel doesn't have that power.
Exactly. He didn't have it. There was no collaboration, it seems. So I understand why, if Philly throws an offer like that on the table, then you got to take it. Because the guy that I'm supposed to be negotiating with, or my agent is, it seems like, one, he's not budging, and two, I don't talk to him. I have no conversation with him at all. And not even in the past by like, hey, what's going on? Because Mike Vrabel brought this up. He didn't say any names, but he sort of alluded to it. Walking past people without saying anything, And he didn't want that to be the case. He wants to be a coach where if I walk by you, I'm talking to you, and I want to hear what you got to say. Well, there's probably some in the building that wasn't doing that, and Vrabel didn't like it.
And I know that, talking about the contract negotiations, it's a moot point at this
yes.
point. AJ's in Philly. The Titans are moving on.
But
everybody's moving on. AJ keeps bringing it up. That's why we're talking about it, because AJ's going to keep talking, so we'll keep talking about it. But I think there's an element to this, to what AJ said and AJ's sentiments, his feeling about the organizations and their negotiations, that I think are incredibly relevant to the future of the Titans. And we'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, and also B-Caller 3 right now to win a pair of tickets to see Bad Flower at Brooklyn Bowl on April 1st. Good luck with that. It's 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
I think it's a really good move. TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hi guys, it's Mark. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction? Did you know that a major medical breakthrough is now available and it isn't a pill? Today, Wednesday, February 22nd, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. It's backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge. If you're ready to regain the spark in your bedroom, today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce rapid and powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is an unprecedented offer worth hundreds of dollars, but call today and qualify totally free. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today, Wednesday, 615-576-5000.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willy Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
When that door closed behind me and I was free, the main thing I wanted to do was just re-enter society, get a job, and see my family.
It's okay.
There's a new state office of re-entry in Tennessee, specifically to help folks like me get jobs. Go to tnworkready.com or visit your local American Job Center. Re-entry is a normal thing, and it's okay.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
tnworkready.com.
Curation CBD, a Pick-10 company, offers high-quality, lab-tested CBD products curated for life for both you and your pet.
Hi, I'm Adam Intihar, also known as the Dog Father of Nashville. Curation 600 milligram CBD roll-on really helps me get through my training days. Applying it in the morning and again at night helps me take bites from dogs like Zulu or go on adventures with dogs like Lieutenant Dan. Curation is awesome.
Discover the full range of Curation products online at CurationCompany.com.
Coming up on the Thursday edition of Michelle and Chase, Junie Riddle will be in for Chase McCabe, and we will preview the San Jose Sharks with John Hines at 9:30 and take a look around the NFL. The action all starts at 9 a.m.
Hey Nashville, it's Max Kellerman, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
So this whole time, I ain't heard you say nothing but you was talking to J-Rob, though.
Oh, I never talked to J-Rob.
And that's when I feel like you should have known right there. If Brave ever telling me this,
I never talked to
Cuz over here
J-Rob.
ain't trying to talk to me at all.
Nah, I never.
He already got it made up in his mind.
I never talked to J-Rob. And people are saying, like, you got the GM fired. I don't like, listen, I don't know why you got fired.
Got himself fired. It ain't had nothing to do with you doing it.
I think it'd have been tough for me to just stay there, period, because, you know what I'm saying, Tannehill got a big contract. You know what I'm saying?
Gotta pay
like,
Tutu, they gotta pay
you
Joe.
gotta pay Joe. You know, how are they gonna pay Joe?
Bray gonna pay them. If it's
Hey, hold on now.
We are looking at the receipts that said, goddamn,
if I was the coach.
Yeah, and just last said that man was supposed to be getting. It was like supposed to be.
But how they come out? But how they come out and say, I saw someone who was like, we don't know how you gonna pay you, but we gonna pay you.
I feel like they say that all the time though.
But when I hear people say they not going nowhere, all that other stuff, like
it's over with.
It's
now.
over. You getting out.
It's
bro.
over with.
You done.
You might,
It's over. When they tell you they not trading you, he's not going nowhere, this and that.
He
bro,
gone.
you're gone. You should start looking for a new house.
You good as
Put your
gone.
house for sale. It's over with. It's over with. I learned that the hard way. I'm like, I saw that a couple times, a couple people this year.
Now, do you also?
There you go. That was AJ Brown on the Raw Room podcast. And he breaks down all the negotiations and the communication between the Titans and the Eagles and how that trade came to be. And I don't think that the most dangerous part of the podcast is kind of the botched negotiations with the Titans, if you even want to call them that, because there's a new general manager. There's a new way of thinking, the way that the front office is run. At least that's the idea going into the season. So that's not the worst part about it. They've made those changes. That right there, that clip, that is the most dangerous part of all of this to me. Because Jeffrey Simmons is probably listening to what A.J. Brown has to say. And A.J. Brown said, hey, they wanted me. They want to keep me. Mike Vrabel said, as long as I'm coach, you're going to be here. So were those empty promises? I don't think that they were intentionally, but you look at it and they are. And so I think if I'm Jeffrey Simmons listening to this, or if I'm a young player with the Titans that wants to eventually get paid by this team and stay with this team long term, I don't think that the Titans would be not willing to give those big contracts. And I think the Titans very much so want to re-sign Jeffrey Simmons. But that wouldn't be very reassuring to me, hearing those comments from A.J. Brown. That, I think, is the most dangerous thing for the Titans organization coming out of that podcast.
Yeah, and I think, the good part about it is, they're dealing with the new GM now. So I'm sure Rand thinks a little bit different than what John thought. So if I'm Jeffrey Simmons, I'm not necessarily thinking about what AJ had to go through because it was under a different guy. different guy was running the negotiations, John Robinson. Rand Carthon is running negotiations now. And from what we understand, Rand has talked with Jeffrey, and it seems like everything is good.
Yeah.
That everything is going in the right direction. So, I explain to people all the time when they're talking about different people. It's, well, that person's, I just don't like that person. I said, well, you may not, but the experience I've had with the person, they've been cool with me. They've, I
like them.
Yeah, I like them. Maybe that's just you. I don't know. Maybe y'all need to sit down and talk about why things are the way they are. But I'm sure that's what Jeffrey is sort of thinking too. Like, listen, my relationship with the GM and the head coach, it's different, than what AJ had to go through. I don't, whatever he had to go through, it was bad. I understand it. But that's not the situation I'm in. Situation I'm in, everything seemed good, So I do hope that I will be a Titan for the next, 5, 6, 7 years. But you also got to understand that it is a business, and that there is a chance that you will not be here, moving forward after this season.
It's just the reality.
It's just the reality of it. I think he will. I think Rand Carthon, this is going to be like this might be his defining sign, Jeffrey Simmons, like his first big sign, Jeffrey Simmons. Well, you get Jeffrey, you're good. You got him. Now you got to try to bring other guys in. Do I think they're going to get a deal done? Yeah, I think so, but I know how this sport is. If somebody else is willing to pay you a whole lot more money and give you a whole lot more guarantee, that's the question. Not necessarily the average per year. It's the guaranteed money. You can sign me to a 5-year, $100 million contract or 4-year, $100 million contract, and I'm averaging 25 over the 4 years, but you're only guaranteeing me $30 million, and then the other team comes in and say, well, you know what? We'll give you the same deal, 25 per year, 4 years, but we're going to guarantee you $60 million. What do you think he's going to take? He's going to take the $60 million.
You should take the more
guaranteed
guaranteed money.
You're going to take the more guaranteed.
Who cares about the flashy AAV? Who cares?
The AAV is for the agent. Mm-hmm. For him to say, look at what I got my guy per year. But he ain't going to dive into the real number,
and that's
the
exactly
guarantee.
What Tory Danny wants to do. He's the wide receiver agent.
Yeah.
He wants his wide receivers to get paid.
He wants them to get paid. But I would love to know what the Titans were willing to guarantee. Because if they were not close to that $57 million, then Tory Dandy did the right thing by his client. He said, listen, I know you want to be in Nashville, and hell, I want you to be in Nashville if that's what you want. Mm-hmm. But I'm just telling you, Philly is giving you a better deal all around. They're giving you more AV. They're giving you more guarantee. They're giving you more money all around, and the Titans aren't. So you can take whichever deal you want, but I'm telling you, this is the better deal. Mm-hmm. And AJ took it. Because it was the better deal. So I don't blame him. So you look at Jeffrey Simmons, he's going to go down the same path. How much money? Don't look at the average. The average can be food. It
How
can fool
much money
you.
is going to be in your pocket?
How much money am I going to get in my pocket? Guarantee. All right. Give me that guaranteed money. That's what I want. Mm-hmm. The AV looks nice for everybody else. It looks nice for the people that don't know me. It looks nice for even my parents or anybody else.
Looks good on SportsCenter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if they come back and say, well, you're averaging 25 per year for $100 million, but you only guarantee $30 million, people are looking like, what? Why did you sign that deal?
Right. And that's what Andrew texts in the text line, phonelines@WillScountyHounded.com, says the Eagles guaranteed $14 million a year minus increased taxes and cost of living. AJ got fooled on the fake numbers. And maybe he did. And it depends, to your point, D-Mase, about the guaranteed money that the Titans were willing to offer.
Yeah.
Because if the Titans were willing to offer, $20 million a year for 4 years, $16 a year guaranteed, well then, yeah, you did get fooled by the numbers. You did get fooled by the 25, the flashy AAV, but not as much of it was guaranteed, whereas you could have been in Nashville with no taxes, a lower cost of living, and you were getting more guaranteed money, and you wanted to be here according to AJ on the podcast, that he wanted to be here, and the Titans wanted him here. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That all depends. But if the Titans were saying, hey, we'll pay you $20 million a year, 12 a year guaranteed, no, screw you.
Yeah, that's what makes me think that Philly offered a better contract all around.
Mm-hmm.
Now Jeffrey may have to go through that because it's a new GM, and the head coach is like, listen, the head coach, Jeffrey is one of his guys. He loves Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah.
So I believe Jeffrey Simmons will be here.
But he
now,
loved it.
but I
Brown
won't
too.
guarantee it. I never guarantee anything in sports because, yeah, you may want to stay here. Yes, you may love it here. But if they're not rolling out that Brinks truck the way you feel they need to roll it out and guarantee you a lot of what's in that Brinks truck, then you're going to walk away if somebody's offering more.
But I do think, it's the perception that looks bad. And what AJ said about, that Jeff said that they didn't know where the money was going to be.
It looks bad on the Titans.
It looks bad.
Yeah.
It's a bad look for the Titans, especially AJ Brown sharing all these texts from Mike Vrabel saying, don't worry about it. You're not going to get traded. Just be patient, so on and so forth. And then seeing how everything happened. It looks bad on the Titans. Mm-hmm. I feel so deep in my heart and soul that Jeffrey Simmons is going to get re-signed for so many reasons. One being he's Jeffrey freaking Simmons and he's so important to this team. Two being Rand Carthon being the new GM and understanding how important getting this deal done is to his reputation, to the team, the success of the franchise moving forward. But I think it's assigning Jeffrey Simmons and having a true collaboration between Jeffrey Simmons' team and the Titans and getting a good deal done to change that perception of the Titans. To say, look, that was the old management that dealt with A.J. Brown. There's a new management now. That's the perception of the players. Because if I'm a young player looking to see how the Titans dealt with things with A.J. Brown, I don't want to play there. They're not gonna. I could be a leading receiver and a difference maker on that team, and they're not willing to at least budge a couple $1 million to make me happy and keep me in the building. I don't want to play there. So the perception looks bad with AJ. How do you fix it with Jeffrey Simmons? That's and I think they will. I truly do think that they will. At least I hope so. So I will give Mike Vrabel credit because he wanted to keep AJ Brown here. And I will give Mike Vrabel credit for the way that he handled things with AJ Brown. One thing I'm not going to give him credit for, and we'll get into that coming up next in your phones as well, 615-737-1025. And hey, be caller 3 now, and you will get the opportunity to win a really cool prize that I'm going to tell you about, Guns N' Roses at Geodis Park. So be caller 3 now, and you will get a pair of tickets to see Guns N' Roses at Geodis Park on August 26th. Good luck, Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
White 85! Every team needs a quarterback.
White 85! Take!
That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown!
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With more all-wheel drive, more electrified, and the longest-lasting vehicles, Toyota checks all the boxes, like Corolla Cross, the first ever Corolla SUV, or the best-selling Camry, now available with all-wheel drive. Get 3.99 APR financing on a new 22 or 23 Camry, now through February 28th, with approved credit through TFS, excludes TRD and hybrids, and every new Toyota comes with 2 years no-cost maintenance. Get complete details at buyatoyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
Gary Ashton here. People walk up to me all the time and say, don't sell without the intel. This message couldn't be more true. Right now, it's a fantastic time to buy or sell your home in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. No one has more intel than the Gary Ashton team. So what is this intel we keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without stagings or showings? Intel on where to find your next home so that you can sell your current home while the market is hot, and intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity. For more intel, visit GaryAshton.com, where we can give you the insight and the most up-to-date real estate intel in Nashville. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate team of the Nashville Predators. Get the confidence to sell your home and find the dream address without the stress. Visit us today at GaryAshton.com. That's GaryAshton.com. And remember, Don't sell without the intel.
There's nobody on the planet who's as picky when it comes to diamonds as Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon.
I'm very, very selective on the diamond that I pick.
Indeed, Boaz will look at 2,000 diamonds on the world market and find maybe 2 or 3 that meet his criteria.
What most people don't know, and even jewelers, a diamond has much more than the 4 C's. He has maybe 20 C's.
Like the diamond's luster grade or brilliance level, its feathering, its inclusions, its table, its polish, its symmetry, even the diamond's own DNA or X-ray report, which most jewelers don't even know about.
I refuse to sell diamonds that don't go through our very, very strict criteria.
Which means a Genesis diamond is one she can be proud to wear, with the most sparkle and brilliance and real intrinsic value.
This is my goal, to go all over the world and find only the best hand-selected diamond.
Genesis Diamonds, setting the highest quality standards in the jewelry business. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
One is smart.
This has just been a constant trend for this team.
One is funny. That's right. Funny looking, maybe. Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Everybody's listening.
Weekdays from 9 to 11. Presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life. On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, the Preds have a game tomorrow night, and it is your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click, brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. If you correctly guess a Preds player that scores a goal in the game tomorrow night, you win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Participate in Pick to Click tomorrow morning at 8:45 a.m. with Robbie and Rexroad. So I'll give Mike Vrabel credit. He did everything. I believe, based off of what A.J. Brown said in the Raw Room podcast, based off of what we heard Mike Vrabel say when all of the negotiations were going on with the Titans and A.J. Brown, that he did everything he could to keep A.J. Brown in Tennessee. That being said, as much as I give him credit, I got to take a little bit of credit away. Because A.J. Brown shared what, his interpretation, or, what happened when the Titans played the Eagles this year. Mm-hmm. Titans didn't change anything year over year with their playbook, and A.J. Brown took total advantage of that. This was A.J. Brown on the Raw Room podcast about what went down before the Titans game and what went on in the entirety of the Titans Eagles game. This was A.J. Brown.
Oh, I gave every detail. To Philly, I'm talking about the cans, everything. I gave it all. What? I gave it all, bro. Like, because they don't change nothing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you
They
don't change,
change
that's on you,
nothing.
bro.
I'm literally. I talked to the guy. I talked to one of the guys, defensive guy. It was like, hey, what does this mean? What does this mean? I said, bro, just send me a game film, bro. I'm listening to the TV copy. I'm flipping to the TV copy. Like you just said, 19-1, 18-1, can. I'm like, listen, bro. They canning it, bro. It's a run play or something like that, or a check. You know what I'm saying? Or it's because it's long gone. But I gave every little detail, the signals, the everything. They don't change none of that stuff. I'm like, bro, we run the same play like a million times across the middle, bro. Like, I give you that. I give you the route, bro. It's a bang gate and it's a readout on the backside.
Boy, that
I'm
nigga-
giving you that. I told Slate, get inside. He's gonna run out there. Wait on it.
Just wait on it.
Okay, so honestly, good for AJ. If the Titans aren't going to do anything to change up the playbook and to at least take a little bit of a competitive advantage away from the Eagles, that's on the Titans. AJ should have every single right to give every competitive advantage to the team that he plays for.
Yeah, and Shane, you had to have known that, okay, we're playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's switch a few things up here. Yeah,
right.
Let's and not to say he knew everything, but he damn sure knew a lot, based on what he was saying. As a coach, as a defensive coordinator, OC, you have to say, listen, this week it's going to be this because we're playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Because we don't want AJ to, give them any tips now. As far as our checks or our signals, we need to change them up a little bit or fool them a little bit, give a check and, kind of go opposite of what that, means something different and whatnot. But you can't, seriously, you can't, just not change anything. Going into the Philadelphia game. And listen, they may have changed some things, and we don't know, but we're just basing it on what AJ said.
And AJ could be, blowing total smoke to the extent of what he was saying.
Yeah, so it's just a cautionary tale of, hey, listen, when you release a guy, and you got to play that team that he goes to, you better change something up the week of. I wouldn't have come out and said it. But it would have been, you expect it to happen. It's just like that, those things happen.
It's common sense.
Whether it's a coach going somewhere else or a player going somewhere else the next following year, you try to get a leg up as much of an advantage that you can possibly get. But I don't think I would have came out and just said it for the world to hear. It's just like some things you just, but again, I come from a different era in a different place. AJ and these younger guys, they grew up different. Mm-hmm. So it's different. And there's nothing wrong with it. Believe me. I'm not saying that AJ was wrong in any of this because he wasn't. Listen, you chose to trade him, so you deal with the consequences that come along. You were the not smart one for not changing any of your signals.
You didn't take care of your business.
Exactly. Wrong on you, Titans. But I think as a former player, it's just like I wouldn't even, I wouldn't come out and say, yeah, this is what I did. No, I wouldn't have. I mean, because it means nothing now.
It's fair.
But I don't fault him for doing it. Let me say that. I don't fault him for doing it. But, when you grow up just like, our parents grew up in a different era than we did. So they do things a little bit different. You don't fault them, but they do things a little bit different, or they did things a little bit different. So this generation, you men and women, y'all do things different from, the 70s babies, It's just a little bit different. Nothing wrong with it, but, there is some things that are wrong with it.
We do tend to overshare just a wee bit. Not everybody on the internet is your friend. But beyond that, with the contract negotiations, and he's reading out texts between he and Mike Vrabel, and understanding that it's two different times, two different time periods, different approaches to, contract negotiations, different approaches with the media. How do you feel overall as a former player? AJ pretty much coming clean and showing all of the behind the curtain of his negotiations with the Titans.
Yeah, and to me, there are some things that, again, coming from me and whatnot, there are just some things that I'm not doing. Like, I'm not going to share if I had conversations with John Harbaugh or, Ozzie Newsome or Jeff Fisher. Yeah, we talked, but I'm not going to share what we talked about, good or bad. It doesn't make, when the Jets cut me or traded me, all this stuff was swirling around. They called me the next day. I said, listen, I'm with Houston now. If y'all want to talk to them about it. Don't talk to me. That's my former team. I have nothing to say about them. I'm on another team now. I got to try to learn this playbook and try to, fit in with what's going on around here. I don't have anything bad to say at that particular time about the New York Jets. They chose to trade me. Fine. If you want to know the real reason, go ask them. And if they tell you this, then I'm finished with it. I'm not going back and forth with this. I know exactly what happened. If they want to tell you different, then that's fine. I got the Houston Texans that I need to learn their playbook. And that's how I was. I wasn't getting into all this other stuff and everything else. Now, eventually, after I was done with Houston, that question was asked of me then I sort of, unveiled a little bit of it. But I still wasn't going to give everything that happened. It was just like, man, stress that I don't need. They chose to do it. Good for them. You see where they ended up. So obviously, I wasn't the problem. And that's what I said to one guy. I said, listen, are they still a bad team? Are they all that stuff still going on? Yeah. Well, obviously, I wasn't the guy.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
I'm innocent.
So move on.
There's stuff to clean up now.
Exactly.
Stillman and Company is up next. Chase McCabe and Adam Vingan in for Jared today. The Predators went to a shootout with a team that is actively trying to lose. And I know Adam Vingan has some thoughts about it. We will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Peace.